Also, I guess I'll use my browser audio. I've been using my browser audio for this recently. I'll just keep doing it. We'll play CVS 2 again. We haven't done a couple of these. I'm real for what? Restarting the stream to make a new video file? Dude, I'm trying to do... Respectfully, I'm trying to do the bare minimum on these. Outside of, like, the analysis. These have to remain easy. Like, these must not be a lot of effort, or I will not continue to do these. I like the actual review. Everything else about, you know, like, having the form and doing literally everything else is not why I want to do it. Production is simple, so the thinkies can be deep. It's not even that. It's like not even the thinkies. It's more just... Alright. Let me pull up the bottom. We'll get started. It's not even the thinkies. It's more just like... I'm trying to make this a thing people can revisit and have it on YouTube and make submissions like reasonable. Basically, I need it to be like easy enough that it's not like super intrusive for people to get in there or like look up the VOD that I did for them or whatever, but all that shit, all that extra shit is like what makes it tough. I don't think he specified. You were playing Fut, and he was teaching you about soul pressure, but you struggled a lot navigating the neutral, dealing with DP, and a lot of your pressure was whack because you're scared of it. Alright. Stream isn't loading on your end? It should be. Refresh. Like reload stream. No. Turn my... nah, it's fine. It's not like that hard. I'll do the base, yeah. Let me know when you can see the stream, so I can actually start the water review. Oh no, Nora. No, these aren't food, Nora. No. My sour gummies bag sounds just like her bag of treats. No, Nora, you were sleeping so peacefully. Now restart the app. It's all good. Right. 5 minutes? Yeah, we can watch this in its entirety. The one thing, and this is my bad, I'll fix it by next VOD review, is I think my whiteboard is still broken. So I can't use it like for showing certain things, but it should be fine. Knockdown. Big jump. Okay. We'll cover some bringer stuff. It looks important. Ratio. Yeah, you get to RPS on hit. Oh yeah, that's an awkward spacing if you're not ready to adjust. That was a good hit. My notepad. Nice, yeah. Good pickup. JK, JH. Knockdown. Yeah, a lot of learning the game is like learning where you're dying, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. This matchup tends to go by kind of fast if Soul gets the hit. Yeah. I'll like talk about it a little bit, but there are a couple of things you can basically do here. And we'll like talk about them after the matches. This is plus, but it's not like you're doomed amounts of plus. It's only +2, and it pushes back quite a bit. So like this is kind of like his biggest frame trap in that situation, and some of the other stuff is actually not like as tight as you might think here. This, not always, but a lot of times is generally minus if you just like regular block it on the floor. Which means like he kind of can't keep doing like bringer into over and over again. A lot of people will tell you to do things like, oh, if you do the jump, like if you jump JP here, or you do jump throw OS in the air, right, with punch and heavy, like you'll beat a lot of soul options here, and that's true, but you don't need to do that, is the way I would put it. Like, Soul's the kind of character where you can be kind of patient versus him, and unless you're blocking Gunflame, it's like not that big a deal. We'll talk about some of the Oki off of low scroll too, because there's like a thing that I do that's it's like a solid mid ground, and it plays into Answer's game pretty well in terms of running Oki versus DPs, DP characters. You were taught to IB the 6H and then do something. That's not necessarily wrong, but it's kind of dangerous advice is the way I would put it. Spanish. Like, I agree that you should instant block 6H because it's important, but he has a lot of different cancel options off of it. And unless you are doing that OS, like they kind of RPS, right? And again, I don't really think you should worry about the option select defensive thing versus it. Yeah, I think it's not really that necessary. And because of that, I'm like, you could RPS, but if you're wrong, it's a little bit dangerous. Just depends. Luckily, it's not like super dangerous is the way I would put it. It's on the other side. Get to the music, man. Nice. Oh yeah. It's tough link. Yeah, we'll talk about some soul pressure stuff. Again, a lot of it is just... I tell people early on, when it comes to blocking soul, that there are sort of like things that exist that are good mid-grounds. Oh, he missed the dash on it. There are like good mid-grounds, or there are a couple things defensively that cover a lot of options for soul. But realistically, like, he's kind of built so that you can more or less defend versus him by like guessing in different ways. And the guesses are skewed. Like, certain things are not very punishing to get hit by from soul, and can condition him to potentially overextend his offense in a way that just kind of rewards you, like for waiting around. Yeah, I was gonna say that's a lot of hits. Get out. It's also like character to character, like the actual value on air to airing soul there, I think for a character like Answer is a little limited. It's not that it's bad, I mean you still get a hit and that's good, but it is definitely just like more limited is the way I would put it. Other than that, cool. Well, we'll cover it. It's also just like general defense, honestly. Like anyone can kind of like have this approach towards defending soul. At the beginning at least. Yeah, a little short on the punish. Yeah, 6H is very tricky to get on Soul DP, for what it's worth, by the way. Soul has a very fast DP on startup. It can be very difficult to safe jump it with 6H, and in some instances, actually impossible to safe jump it. It just depends. 6H safe jumps are a little like spacing dependent. You have to be like a certain distance to get them. And again, Soul's is just really fast. Yeah. 6P can work versus Bringer, but I find it's kind of risky if you don't do it very preemptively, and the reward can be good, but I don't think it's worth the reward that Soul gets if you mess up. Yeah, we'll talk about some Soul defense a little bit. I think it's definitely the vibe. So generally speaking, well, and like Soul has a lot of ways that he can vary his offense, and you'll find this out as you fight more experienced Soul players, or you know, not that Futt is not, but my point is like he didn't try to do other pressure.
You will eventually fight
you will eventually fight Soul players that don't commit as quickly to special moves. And that's like a big thing. The first thing I'm going to show you, hold on, I got to adjust it real quick so that my monitor capture is on my game so that we can actually look at some of the frame data. And the hitboxes aren't as important, but we should look at the frame data. I want to say it's my Acer monitor. This one, yeah. So, me open up. Alright, we should be good. Should have hitboxes displaying now. And more importantly, frame data. So, the thing about Soul, generally speaking, we'll talk about like how his special moves work kind of at the beginning. Again, some people will tell you there are higher level things that you can do, and that is true. But at its core, Soul is basically just trying to get you to block something like this into this. So that is +9, right? Anytime Gunflame is sort of at like a poke range and you block it, like on the later fire pillars like this, generally Soul is plus, right? On regular block. It kind of starts to vary, right? Like if he, let's say he does like this and you like instant block it, his frame advantage starts to vary. Like now he's only +3, right? Etc. Right? But he is usually plus. Up point blank like this, Soul's minus on it. So he -4, right? Depending on the context, like if Soul messes up badly enough, you can get punishes. Like +7 is enough that some characters would be able to press their sweep and get a punish there. But usually Soul pressure is oriented around like doing this, getting a lot of plus frames, and then threatening with different options, right? Let's say you block this. That's +13, right? That's not enough. We're really far from each other, so that's not enough for him to run all the way up and do more. But it is enough for him to do stuff like this. You block it, and then now this is harder to interrupt. Normally, the downside to a move like Fafnir is that it has quite a bit of startup, and it can get interrupted without even people meaning to interrupt it, right? Like that. So things like this are good so that if somebody blocks us and goes, I'm gonna mash, right? Like this will still work on some moves, but not on other moves. And also like timing is a factor, right? The idea is like now you might doubt yourself in the situation and then get caught by this, right? All of Soul's grounded pressure for like a lot of situations is established by making you block this and then making it hurt when he punishes you for challenging after, right? The downside to always doing this for a character like Soul is some characters can gamble and be right and get punishes, right? So Answer, for example, actually has a pretty good instant air dash for this. Not that you want to do this every time necessarily, but let's say you block far slash like this, and you're like, this Soul player is probably going to Gunflame. You can preemptively commit to air dash like this with jump S, and it will punish the fireball. Like it will be a true punish, right? This is the most direct counterplay to Soul's Fireball. It's to just aggressively call it out, right? You can also just opt to jump out like this sometimes as a character like Answer, right? Jump out, set a scroll, jump out, air dash back, right? Like these are all situations where you can, depending on if you're not cornered, right? And when this happens, then you can get out. But it all kind of depends, right? But yeah, Answer's got a pretty good, like Jump S has a good hitbox on it for doing this, right? But again, you don't have to do that. You could just try to like super jump out like that, right? Or you could try to like jump and set a scroll and then just hold the dash and get out like that, right? Soul's usual counterplays to this are, let's say he's doing it off of a button like 5H when he fireballs. He might commit to air dashing like that to catch you in the air, right? As you see the button you think he's going to cancel into Gunflame, like 5H there, you would hold up and he'd catch you air dashing, right? A lot of the times the best thing to do versus Soul's the air dash at you like this, if you're trying to jump out, is to just wait and catch him as he finishes his air dash like this, right? Answer has a pretty good combination of buttons for this if he's spaced out for it, right? Like if Soul is spaced out for something like this, then something like jab will catch him as he finishes, right? So I'll pause when I would normally press jab. Be like, let me see. Be like right here. You press jab like right here. Right? Jab or close slash. Jab is a couple frames fast, like 2 frames faster, so it's a little more consistent. Right? You can also 6P if you're like very confident they're gonna end up over there, but 6P is slower and it won't catch them a lot of the times. See? 6P is more for like when they're like this distance and it will just work. It's a lot easier to usually just assume that you can press like jab on the way. Right? So now it's like, can you air throw it? Yes, but it's a smaller punish. Right? So it's up to you, whatever you would prefer to do. But yeah, you can air throw it like that. The key is to remain crouching and wait for the air dash, right? If he air dashes, you get it. If he doesn't, that's the downside to waiting for the air dash, right? He can also opt for something like this, and this will if you don't faultless defense bandit revolver like this, then also if you jump and you try to get out, if you faultless defense, he can't catch you with bandit revolver anyway, right? So assuming you didn't, he gets this. Soul's punish if he catches you with bandit revolver is just a knockdown like that, right? Hey, thanks for the raid blitz back. We're doing VOD review. I hope the tournament went well. Welcome. Yeah, you need to faultless defense revolver. It is considered a grounded special move because he leaves the ground when he does it on that version. Aerial revolver you can regular block if I'm not mistaken. Bike and win to bike and stream. Oh, you hate to hear it. Bike and win, you hate to hear it. It's a loss. It's a loss for humanity for sure. But it's definitely a win for biking players. But yeah, so revolver, if you eat the revolver knockdown, right? It's just like more oaky, right? Not to downplay the fact that he keeps offense, but does that make sense? It's not a big punish, right? If you're wrong jumping out versus this, right? Also, when you block revolver like this, he's minus. I'm +2 here, right? Bandit revolver has to hit very far away like that for it to be even on block, right? Most of the time, a soul player will probably accidentally bandit revolver too close. And in some instances like this is a punish. If you were to say like instant block and throw, the landing lag is like punishable by throw, right? I wouldn't worry about that. My point is just, if you think he's going to revolver because you've been jumping out of things, you can just wait like this and press 2P a lot of the times. You are usually at advantage versus Soul. As long as you block this standing, you're usually at advantage because this isn't an overhead. Some people will accidentally block it like this, and then Soul is plus. But most of the time, people see him in the air and react and block standing because it's so slow. Right? So if you block this standing at most distances, not all of them, like over here it's even on block, but you could still probably press 2P. Right? The idea is if he does this, chances are you can press a button and take your turn back. If he DPs, you just have to hold that. Like, if he DPs, then maybe you should have waited, right? Like, there is no perfect answer here because he's not punishable. He's just at disadvantage, right? Because Soul players will remind you that he's only at disadvantage here and do this, right? But again, that's not like a huge punish to eat a lot of the times. It's just usually like more damage than a knockdown. You have to play the game with them, but the idea is that the risk reward is still in your favor. If Soul does this into this and you waited like this, you get 30% of Soul's health as long as you hit your combo. Right? 30% of his health. The risk reward is still on average in your favor if you play that situation right. Similarly, this move is also minus a lot of the times. Or even if it's spaced out. This move is not plus. Like very rarely. You have to hit like very spaced out like over here and maybe, no, not even that. This move has to hit kind of like on the way down, like this, and then sometimes he's plus. Or like it has to hit meaty like on somebody as they're like recovering from backdash. This move is almost always like even on block, and that's assuming you didn't instant block it. If you were to say instant block it, then he's minus a lot because of the attack level on this. Right, so let's say you see this move, if you aim to instant block it, you're +4 here. Right, but even if you don't, instant block it, you're still even. You can press jab, and your jab is the same speed as Soul's, right? And if you press this 2D, then you could just probably backdash out of that. 2D is usually the most obnoxious thing in this situation. But again, frame data in these situations is on average your friend. Like, you can check Soul in a lot of these spots by pressing like 2P or 5P, etc. Like, you can also in the middle of the screen opt to backdash like that, right? But a lot of it, and then there are also just universal things, right? This option takes so long to come out. If you're like, say, anticipating it, like you're like, oh, he's probably gonna bringer, I'm expecting bringer, you can also just blitz it, right? 6P works, but it is weird to hit, is the way I would put it. Like, sometimes you're too early like that, and you don't really want that situation. I think you get a punish there, but I'm not sure, right? But it's like very easy to accidentally be too early or too late on it and then eat 30% of your health or 50% of your health. You have to be like spaced for it to get a 6P here like that. That's kind of why I don't tell people like, oh, just 6P it as Soul or as Answer. Even though he can do it pretty well. It's more like I would maybe do it in neutral over here if I was going to do it, but probably not defensively. If you were to say gamble versus it, you could probably just blitz it. And then the entire time that Soul is falling, right, I could press immediate 6K like this and get a combo. I could walk up and press 6K and get a combo. And the reason I mention this is that in these situations, until Soul touches the floor, he has to guess when you're going to hit him. Because you can't hold your blitz in the air, so you actually have to know when they're going to hit you. So he has all the time he's falling where he just has to guess. It's a long, like, this whole time he has to guess, right? So if you press instant 6K, you get it, right? If you press walk up close / 6K, you get it, right? Yeah, that's why it's a bad, yeah, what's up, MKJ? That's why it's really bad to get blitzed here as Soul. Because you're so high up in the air, you have to spend a really long time guessing when to do it back to the opponent, right? I'll show you what I'm talking about. Like, this is what it looks like. So, if he does it instantly, he gets cooked. If he does it a little later, we'll say, then... See? Like, the timing on this is very strict for him. He has to actually know when you're gonna do it. Like... Crack always IKs you off it. That's fucked up. But now let's do like a later one. See? And he still missed the timing. Now he landed and he got punished because he missed the timing. Right? Instant one, I get hit. Delay, I get a punish later, like down here. See? So that this kind of thing is tough because it's like he has to guess if he should blitz you back at all, right? Or if he should wait. Because if he blitzes, then you catch the landing lag and you get a punish, you know? But yes, so with bringer, you can usually do that, right? You can block it and then do stuff after. Even like this situation, actually. I didn't even think about this, but like, even Answer can do this if you wanted to. You can counter. It's not great, but my point is like, you're actionable there, and there are things that you can do. Blocking bringer is bad because you can't see it with the overlay on here. But like, if I was to like do this real quick, so it's not in your way. The worst part about bringer is that it cranks your risk a lot. See, like a sequence like that gives you like 15%, almost 20% risk gauge. That it's like, that is like why it's a bad thing to block, right? And so you don't want to block it too much, but you also don't want to let him just like do whatever he wants after. It has such a long startup. There's like a lot of different ways to punish it. You can also jump and IB it like this and get an actual punish if you instant block up here. It's a little like funky on the timing, but is it only throw? I'm like almost positive you can get a jab here on like the air block, but it might be too high of an attack level. Nah, you would just hold it. Also, this button is blockable in the air. So like if you were to say jump into this, I'm just saying, if you were to say jump into this like this, now he is actually plus, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think if you jump into this, the air hit block stun makes him, yeah, like now he's very plus. However, if you do this, then he's very minus. You're plus. You're like +7. if you were to instant block it. And all you do is like hold up forward, you know, like that. And you're plus. Right. So like to essentially like summarize what I'm getting at in terms of soul pressure, he wants to do things like this. He wants you to get you to block these because they're plus for him, and he gets to RPS in different ways. He gets to do run up into a counter poke like that, and if you bite into it, it's a lot of damage, right? He can do run up 6Ps, he can do etc. Right? It's very, very strong situation for Soul as far as Soul situations are concerned. So you jump a lot, right? You jump a lot and you get out. The thing is, once he starts to rotate to things like this, or things like this, a lot of the times I just wait as the defender versus Soul, right? Once he's finally willing to do things like this, I'll just kind of wait and either try to instant block it, right? Because if you instant block this move, he's minus, like a lot. He's -4. This is actually a punish, actually. That's really funny. I should go for this more. Because at -4, his jab is a punish. That's really funny. Right? So you wait for those things and you punish them, right? The thing I want to remind you of is like these situations are not pick this and you win. These are interactive situations, right? Like there are going to be times when you're like he's going to do fireball and you jump and you get hit by revolver and you're wrong, right? There are going to be times where you think he's going to do revolver and he does this and you block because you decided to wait to see if he would do bandit revolver or bringer or air dash, right? My point is like there at higher levels there are situations that you can start to cover more than one thing versus Soul, but you can start with fundamentals and just decide like I'm gonna commit to this, and honestly I think it's a good thing for training people's patience and people's willingness to wait on a specific thing, right? Like it'll teach you to look for specific things on defense even when you're being wrong sometimes, right? The last thing I'll say is that this is how the game works until he does this. If Soul spends 25 bar, he will most likely win the situation, like regardless of what you picked, right? So let's say you committed to blocking, then he does this and he sees you blocking, it's over. He's gonna press this, he's gonna press a button like far slash, make you block, and then run forward, right? He's gonna do something like this, and if he didn't see you jump, then you just kind of get stuck in that situation because of the slowdown, right? If he sees you jump, then he'll do something like this. And he'll try to air you, like in the corner, we'll say. Let's do like this situation, right? He'll do something like this, and he'll try to air you with JK. And if he gets it, then you fall into the gun flame, and now you have to block him again, right? If you were to, say, have done an air dash, because you're like, I was told I should air dash, versus, let's do this a little later like that. Somebody told you like, oh, you should always air dash for Soul. Damn, you gotta do this like really late. Let me see. So if you were to say do something, yeah, like this. So you're like, yeah, he's gonna do gun flame, etc. You're gonna get thrown like that, right? If that makes sense. Like him spending 25 bar pretty much makes it so that like the guessing doesn't really ever work out for you. And at best, a lot of the times, you would, like, in quotations, best case situation is something like this. I know it doesn't feel best case, but best case situation is like if you thought he was going to gunflame, or sorry, if you thought he was going to revolver anyway, and he does this, you have to block a lot of Soul stuff again because of the slowdown and the extra frame advantage he's going to get running up off of it. But he spent 25 bar. It's the same old story. You're going to hear it a lot in Exerd, where it's like, the win, the in quotations win in this situation is that it costed them bar to do it, and they didn't actually catch you doing anything. They get to keep enforcing their pressure, but they didn't get anything directly out of it, and the game punishes you when you pick certain options that use resources, right? Like, when you Roman cancel anything, your meter gain is significantly reduced for, like, a certain amount of time based on the action that you pick. I want to say Roman cancels are 180 frames, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure Roman cancels make it for like 180 or like about that long, like 180 frames, I think, you gain significantly less meter. You essentially don't gain meter during that time. Like if I was to show you really quick, like, but that is the biggest downside to that option. Also, before time runs out, can you show me the okay I was talking about? Yeah, don't worry, I'm done with this. I'm gonna talk about the situation. I figure that you get the idea, right? All I was gonna say is if you are, don't worry, we're still good on time. We have 10 minutes, by the way. And this only takes maybe like 5 minutes to explain. So if you were to say get a knockdown like the ones you were getting, right? So let's do something like basic, right? If you get something like this. You play against Soul, deal with wild throw because all this showing off. Be patient, wait for it out. Go forward, get patient. Although it takes your turn off. Yeah. Supers don't actually affect your meter gain. Supers have no penalty, by the way. That's why comboing with supers is good. But those other things do. All those other things do. Roaming cancels and faultless defense hurt your meter gain. So does dead angle. So if you got a sweep, my bad. I'm like spacing out. So if you get a sweep, right? Something I do, I guess I'll show it with like a regular thing. If you were to say 6H to this situation, a lot of the times, the way this works is if you dash forward right when this happens, like this, then you're going to get a safe jump, right? If I do this, the moment Soul wakes up, I go fast enough through him that he doesn't get to DP me. That's how this safe jump works, is you dash through them and you get it, right? Obviously, this situation is susceptible to blitzing, right? Like if he, let me switch these as I talk about it so I can show you what I'm talking about. If he picks blitz in that situation, it starts to feel like it turns into really heavy RPS, right? If you dash into him, the blitz catches you, but the DP loses. If you try to bait the blitz by going low off of the scroll, like getting off the scroll and going low, and he DPs, then he hits you, right? That situation can be really frustrating. So a lot of the times what I'll do versus a character like Soul is I'll do this a lot of the times. I'll just back off in a distance where if he DPs, it still misses, right? So for example, like if I'm in this situation, this still misses, right? The idea is you just kind of don't interact with them. I know that sounds like funny to say, but the idea is if he were to DP here, it misses. And you still see him land and you get your punish, right? If he was to reversal blitz, it still misses, right? I do this a lot when I assume my opponent is not going to block on wake up, right? And I don't want to deal with the RPS, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to have to guess alongside you. I would rather control the situation, right? If you wanted to spend a little bit of cash, aka meter, in this situation, you can, to make it a little bit more stable. You do something like this. And now, even if he picks blitz, you catch the end lag of a tap blitz on that card wire C, right? If he picks DP, you toss card wire C, and during the slowdown, you get to see that. And so you'll still get your punish, right? If he was to like try to jump out late, it still won't catch him, but the idea is like you have control. You can pretty much always set scrolls here, right? This is good for catching people that like just gamble on wake up in different ways like this, because you still have all the slowdown to punish that, right? You take a step back and you press /5H and you get a punish, right? Try this a little bit more versus people that are going to gamble all the time. You don't need to do the card wire C, but the card wire C is good because it will usually make it easy for you to get a punish if they did blitz or DP or do whatever, right? It's kind of hard to react on the dash back to the blitz if you're not used to it. And usually you only get a small punish anyway, so it's not like a big deal. But yeah, that's kind of the idea, right? Is I do that. Don't always commit to your Okazeme. Also, general advice, when you fight Soul, let's say you're fighting Soul and you get a knockdown, do your safe jump like this to him, in my opinion. I usually safe jump Soul, not with SH. It's a little too difficult to get it. So a lot of the times I'll do my safe jumps like this versus Soul. I'll just dash through him. It's pretty easy. Basically, you just dash the moment they wake up. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but I do this a lot versus Soul. And then obviously the idea is that they're gonna try to turn it into this RPS, right? They're gonna try to make it so that you RPS with blitz and then you dash. But yeah, learning to back off and control space and use card and stuff like that to bait options is pretty good. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if you have any like very quick questions before we're done. We start moving on to the next one. But hopefully, did that answer your question? Give you like basic perspective a little bit, hopefully, on like. Those aren't the best ways to block and defend versus Soul, but it is like they're good ways to do it, and they're very easy to do. What's up, Learn? Yeah, I would start like that, and then as you get comfortable, there are better things that you can do defensively versus Soul or on Oki, etc. I will say as a bit of a side note, if you keep running Triangle Oki a lot on Soul, you're gonna run into a lot of Blitz versus DP RPS, like a lot, if they know how it works. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that is something you're gonna have to interact with a lot as Answer versus Soul, and that's kind of why I don't actually. If you watch me play Soul, I probably don't pick Triangle Okizeme all that frequently versus him. All right, good on that. Let me see. We have like a second. I'll read the chat. What gets you against Soul is having to deal with Wild Throw. Because all of this is that you're showing you can be patient and wait for him to F up. If he gets too patient, he just Wild Throws. A lot of Wild Throws are not covered by enough frame advantage unless he did something like projectile YRC, like with Gunflame in your face, that you couldn't have just escaped them normally. At the end of the day, Soul's game plan is Wild Throws. But if you got hit with Wild Throw, you could have almost certainly obviously jumped it or mashed it potentially. Alright. Let's load up number 2. Get ready. The 5-minute buffer has been pretty nice too. I used to kind of fall behind on these, and now the 5-minute buffer has been helping a good bit. Something you keep in mind. Second round. Okay.
Some may say that it was luck that helped this team to advance.
I remember this set.
That doesn't matter to me, because the bottom line is that this team won. They just better keep in mind that luck works in many.
I remember, does the anti-soul guide still exist on Reddit? I don't know if on Reddit, but I think it just exists in general, if I'm not mistaken. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was pretty much just gonna say like that this matchup, I think, to me is really funny because I think a lot of people don't realize that it's pretty even for. I know I don't have the capture, by the way. I'm still setting it up. It's pretty like even, honestly. I would not. This boils down to Soul being a better character than Axel on average. But I don't. This matchup is not bad. Like, it's not just bad. It's pretty even, and I think that throws a lot of people off. But I remember watching this and like noticing a lot of moments where I think it's specifically in this matchup you need to learn to recognize how to play off of Axel putting himself at disadvantage. I think this matchup is also you okay in the set? You got too impatient? Yeah, I mean, just in general, I would say like when I was watching this set, the thing that stood out to me is like, and this is like general advice as we're watching this and talking about it, because I kind of remember, and I know some of the stuff I'm going to talk about already, is learning to accept when you are wrong is a huge important thing in this, and like in fighting games, period. And I remember watching the set and being like, dude, you got to be okay with being wrong. Like, don't let it discourage you necessarily from the way you're making decisions, but don't let it influence the pace at which you play. It shouldn't change the way that you view decision making outside of like, oh, I was wrong, you know, like I'll try to remember this for next time, but I'm not going to let it make me think I should force more interactions or anything like that. Blitz, I would have baited Blitz too. Axel has a shit ton of little defensive tricks against Soul, so it's very interesting. It's an even matchup, if you ask me. EP. So like this situation, I'll highlight just this one. Me, low key, I would eat the knockdown as Soul, but the reason is because of my risk. I actually don't want to take this RPS at all, like whether it's blitzing or not blitzing or DPing or not DPing off the tech. I wouldn't personally do it because the Okizeme isn't that big a deal, you know. 6P is alright, but maybe not at that spacing. It's like a spacing thing. You feel like you're falling behind, but not being okay being wrong is a symptom, if that makes sense. Yeah, I could see. I mean, a big part of it is like watching people like perform really well and feeling like they're outperforming you. I think to a degree is going to be something where you're just like, well, am I like adequately, how would I put it? Disclaimer before I go on this tangent and somebody calls me out. Fighting games are a little skewed because you could, we're listening to the music for it. So you could play Third Strike and you could learn Q and you could learn to car cancel Q's command grab and be pretty good and learn all the other complicated shit that Q does and be pretty good and be like a beast on Q. Or you could play Chun-Li. Right? And like fighting games are funny to me in that sense. There is a point where a character's natural like strength factors into how easy it is to continue to get better, but it takes a while for that to really become a factor depending on the game. And this game, it takes a while for that to be a factor for sure. That I wouldn't cite that as the reason, but I also do think like Soul has a little bit of that. And you kind of have to make up for it / be okay with it and recognize situations where it's your character is the reason and recognize situations where it's like probably you are the reason. Let's punish, get the knockdown. Yeah, I would also safe jump there because it's okay to just eat the blitz in my opinion. The resources will still remain in your favor. You also think different characters have different points where they plateau at? Yeah, pretty much. Some characters are very front-loaded. Some characters plateau later when decision-making is more important. I think Soul tends to plateau a little bit later. Just wait. Nice. Because Soul is strongly based on patience. At the end of like the big thing, and I'll say this because I think this is a big part of why you get gatekept a lot of the times, is that you need to be patient. After a certain point, you have to be patient with Soul. You cannot perform well long term with Soul if you do not have patience. Like a lot of it. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about a lot of the neutral because the neutral is the biggest thing that stood out to me in this matchup. So I'm gonna cover the actual neutral as soon as this set finishes. Yeah, IADYRC is the classic. If it helps you're gauging it mentally, you're plateauing and researching / understanding how to handle certain situations. We could talk about that. You might also just benefit from what I've done with Lydia. Or at one point I just told Lydia, I was like, if you have a question, just ask me. Stop asking other people. Just ask me. I'll teach you. Yeah, I don't care if they're small questions. Nice punish. Alright. Breeze through this last one. We'll talk about some of the neutral and also some of hopefully like the general idea for why I think it's important to be patient with Soul and understand situations. Soul for what it's worth is very difficult compared to some other characters, and that he is really nice. Bringer finally finds his mark. He is very tough in the sense that like Soul, thank you for the follow. Decision making changes a lot for Soul off of every situation. Some characters, like, you do one thing and it covers a lot of shit all the time versus like everybody. Soul does not have that much of that. Yeah, good weight on the punish. Soul kind of has to learn a lot of interactions. And they're all fairly simple, but he actually has to learn a lot more interactions than people give credit for. Because his ability to convert is like really specific or really limited to meter. But the reason I mention a lot of the deliberateness is because you cannot play without like kind of knowing what you're actually going for as Soul after a certain point. Again, like at the beginning, I think it's pretty chill and you can get by pretty solidly just kind of like guessing. But as people get better at walling you out, as like when you're playing Soul or learning to RPS with you in certain situations that Soul can't avoid, like patience becomes important, but understanding actual interactions and risk reward for a lot of shit is really important. You have to know what you're looking for. And there's like varying degrees. It's really funny because I know Apollo was learning Soul and had this same kind of like moment where he was like, damn, Soul's kind of complicated. To which the answer is like, yes, he's complicated because he can't control a lot of the situations fully. Oh no, no conversion. But he can't control situations fully, but his risk reward is really scaled. Like, there are a lot of situations where it's like there's an option you can pick and you can be really wrong or really right. Or you could pick an option where it's like it's okay to be wrong, but when you're right, it's not that big a deal. Like it's only like mild reward, you know? That's a lot of what defines Soul, as you have to learn him in the later end, like part of the learning curve. A little greedy, but I get the idea. But still fundamentally like pretty greedy. Early burst. That's not like the worst burst. I get the idea. Yeah. I get what it looks like you're trying to go for in this matchup, but a lot of this matchup is actually like a big display of why patience is important as Soul and why like you need to learn interactions. This matchup, if anything, is like probably one of the best at displaying it. But we're gonna talk about one, the matchup, and then two, a little bit of the basic stuff about alright, we're still pretty good on time. I didn't take long. I'll show it from Axel's POV first. But the big thing to understand is like it's okay to block 2H. It's really not a big deal to block 2H versus Axel. A lot of learning, and Soul actually has a pretty decent time in neutral because you run under 5p, and that's like a pretty big thing. Fuzzy jump forward would be a nice option. There's we'll talk about it. I think just jumping, or not jumping, just dashing is fine. Dashing is like low-key all Soul needs in this matchup. So the frame data tool is on, so we're gonna show it. Renson on regular block is -11. That is a lot of minus frames on regular block already. That means if you do this and you micro dash and like far slash, you would counter poke like basically everything, if I had to guess, right? As long as you're like relatively close. Distance obviously plays a factor. If you're over here and you block Renson, you can only really close the gap, right? You have to play uni, right? So like you need to do this as Soul. He's minus, so he can't stop you from moving forward, but you can't get a punish yet. You just need to close the distance. Now if he were to Renson you again, right? Like let's say you start over here. Oops. You start over here, he pushes you out and you're like, let me close the distance. And he Rensons you again. Renson pushes you a little closer this time. Do it again. Renson pushes you a little bit closer. You see how like every time you get closer? Just a bit every time. The big thing is like, this is also just on regular block. If you were to say instant block Renson, you have even more frame advantage to work with. He's -15, you get an extra 4 frames, right? The idea is you kind of want to catch Axel having you block Renson around here at some point. Well, maybe a little closer. Maybe like Renson leaving you like here, right? And this is pretty good distance. Once he's here, a good old-fashioned micro dash like far slash is gonna probably catch like anything he does on average, right? He's just so minus, he kind of has to deal with it. Right? IB, run up, far slash. Something like that is hard for him to contest, right? It's not impossible. He can do things like Renson YRC if he has enough distance, right? He can do things like immediate DP because he's only minus, right? But you have to learn to interact with him in those situations because that's when he's at disadvantage, right? Even if he was to say block here, that's fine as Soul because you would press far slash, make him block Gunflame, and it's RPS time, right? If you're ever like, well, what if Axel DPs? You have to bait it, man. Like, there's no other way to get around it besides like playing the interaction. This is why Soul is difficult, because you have to be willing to be patient on that, and if you're wrong, they get out for free, right? You have to play these situations with the patience and the assumption that, yeah, I'm gonna try to catch DP here, and if he DPs, then it's sick. You get a really good punish. You can run up, post slash 6p, 5h. And get this punish. That's a solid like 15-20% of his health, right? Then it's like you don't even need the counter hit. It's just make sure when you block it, you do run up, close slash, 6p, air dash, JP, JK, JD. And if you're close to the corner, you can even get like a better combo. But don't worry about too much of that. I would just say like my point is off of Renson, press a button, interact, right? make contact and set up a situation, and then play the situation as Soul. But you have to stay on top of these things as Soul because they're important. Like, this is how Soul plays the game. He sets up situations and then he reacts to them as best as he can. He does this, and then he is like, all right. Well, not reacts. That's a bad way to put it. Sometimes he reacts. Most of the time, he sets up situations and he plays preemptively. Is a better way to put it. It's actually the opposite. Soul tends to play preemptively on his decisions and reactive on the confirm. That's what I mean to say, right? So like, you set up a situation off of something like this, off of minus frames. You set this up and you think, I'm going to do micro dash 2D gunflame like that, and I'm gonna bank on it hitting, right? You do this, you do that, and then you try to like bank on it hitting, and then there are levels to it, right? If you have 50 bar, you can commit to this, right, and see if it hits. And if it doesn't, you can YRC, right? But the idea is like, I'm only doing that if I don't think he's gonna DP. If I'm in this situation and he does this, as soon as he blocks this, I have to assume they know I'm plus. I will wait for DP sometime. And if I see him go Bantan or whatever the hell he yells, then I'll do run up 6p, da-da-da-da-da. But there is a chance that if he does this and I wait, he's going to see I didn't do anything and go like this. And that is okay. That is how Soul has to play the game. The reason I clarify this is because, like, high key, if you are not okay with this as anybody playing Soul, eventually this is your life. This is how Soul plays the game. He cannot avoid these situations, and he has to be okay with losing those situations. It's a grappler moment, exactly. It's exactly that. It's a grappler moment. You have to just accept that you could be wrong. But that's why patience is important. Like, if you're wrong, you have to do it all over again. And if your argument starts to stray into tangents, like why don't other characters do it? Well, you're not playing other characters. Other characters knew what they... But people don't pick characters all the time just because they think they look cool, man. I'm just saying, if you get lucky, you get lucky, man. God bless all the people that think Johnny is cool, because you motherfuckers made out like bandits. That's sick. I believe that you love Johnny, but... you guys also made out really well. Alright. But again, so focus on blocking that. Don't do Bringer, man. Bringer is a big commitment. Axel frequently puts himself in minus situations, or honestly situations where he has to guess versus Soul. Like, a lot of people would block this and not have any option, period. But at least you have a DP, right? Even Soul can just DP here and disrespect after 6H. You don't even have to do what other people do. Other people, I recommend waiting. And because this is his only Gatling off of this, once you see it, you can blitz. If he does the flip, the blitz timing tends to like be the same once you see him in the air. You're like, oh, he's in the air. You just blitz, right? Like that. But blocking 2H is not a big deal. If they do a lot of 2H, wait into 2H, then call it out. 2H is... look at how minus regular non-cancel 2H is. It's -8. Is -8 plus the startup of this again, right? Like, there's no world where you couldn't do something like this if they're doing delay, right? But that's only if they're delaying, right? If they're just doing Rensen into Rensen, like block them, run forward, and take space. Again, a really big benefit to this matchup is that you don't get hit by 5p in this matchup. So, like, you can at any point run, and 5p would normally be a check on a lot of other characters, but not Soul, right? Which is a big part of why dashing can be so good on his minus frames, because he has to commit in different ways. He can't just press 5p at a distance over here and assume he won't catch you. He kind of has to press Rensen again or 2H, which is not really ideal, honestly. Axel doesn't really want to press 2H and Rensen at this distance. They're not comfortable. Like, sometimes he does, but a lot of the times this is a big commit. He doesn't want to do that, you know? Everyone with the run goes under 5p except 3 characters. Really? In my head, it's always just been like the characters I play. Damn, Axel sucks, lazy. I deadass thought like half the cast had to deal with this shit. But yeah, don't bring her. It's very reactable. It doesn't lead to anything on block, right? Like, the situation isn't good for you. Just take the space, you know? Take the space. Sin can't run under that shit. That's fake news. You don't even know your own character. Sin doesn't run under that shit. That's fake news, lazy. Caught you in the midst of it. No way? Yeah, he does. He's tall as fuck, dude. There's no way. Sorry, small tangent. But does that make sense? Take space slow, 5p is not a problem. If you want to approach through the air, it's like Futt said. Honestly, air dash YRC is like okay, but I think Soul kind of needs the meter. Yeah, fuck out of here. Get out of here, bro. So yeah, I would say just focus on that, you know. Let him. You're quitting Exert exposed. Caught in 4K. This is going on my YouTube. Block a lot of 2H. It's okay. Block a lot of 2H. He's generally minus. You want to RPS with him in those situations and realize that you're gonna be wrong. You're gonna get pushed out. But forcing your way in through like jumping around and doing bringers is not really like how you play into this matchup. This matchup will test your patience because you have to wait a lot. But having a DP is nice, right? It means 6H isn't just free for Axel even if you can't like instant block it or ID it, you know. You can kind of just wait and focus on that interaction a lot, and then play the rest of it kind of the same, in my opinion. I was also gonna mention, like, when I get knocked down, or not knocked down, when I get forced into tech scramble situations versus Axel, when he can press like 6K or 5P or all these buttons that hit kind of up here. What's it called? Those are the situations where I kind of just don't tech sometimes, because especially if he presses something like 6K trying to catch your tech, a lot of times he kind of has to start to worry if you're going to DP, and he might check it with like 3P, but that's kind of it, you know. And if you block 3P, he's probably going to do this, you know, and then you're back in the same situation where it's probably he's going to rinse in, or he's going to do something you can blitz or block and threaten DP versus, right? Like 2H is very limited when they get to that point, and I find most Axels are usually hyper focused on that. But I'm trying to think, mostly it was that. A lot of it was just your general impatience. The other thing I was going to say is trying to think of how to phrase this. Focus on, and this is like the interaction thing, like focus on setting up a situation in advance like that, and then playing off the situation. And with Soul, this is kind of why I say, like, you might be better off just doing what I do with Lydia a little bit, where I just kind of re-taught her a lot of the game and interactions, because to a degree Soul is a little bit like that. You only do this if they're the type where they block, right? If they're not the type that blocks, then I would just do Gunflame immediately, right? Like, if they're the type that just press shit in place or do stuff in place, then I would just Gunflame immediately like this in the situation, and I would catch for a pickup, right? Like this. But you can only do that if they respect you doing Gunflame as like a disjoint to catch things in place, right? You can only Fafnir versus people that want to respect it, right? You can only do micro dashes versus people that'll let you, right? Like, a lot of Soul's decision making does change quite a bit based on what people do. You can't play exactly the same way, but a lot of the things that he does to call things out are very straightforward, is what the trade-off is. Like, your solutions are often very straightforward, but you have a lot of solutions and a lot of little adjustments to make with Soul. And I would say recently I feel like I haven't seen you doing that as much. A lot of it feels like just leaning into like getting close and doing random stuff instead of setting up a situation. Like, if somebody blocks, set up a situation with 2S like this and then gamble, right? And the gambling varies, right? Like, obviously, wild throw is a big gamble, right? Pressing 2D after, not that big of a gamble, but the reward is harder to confirm, right? Like, unless you do the 2D into Gunflame immediately, then you don't get big results, right? Or you have to spend bar and you can get the confirm on reaction, right? But again, these are the things that are like what makes Soul decision making a bigger spectrum than people think. I would say, like, I didn't get to see as many of those interactions because the takeaway for me was that you need to slow things down in that matchup specifically, not throw away your life on random Hail Mary gambles, and make contact a little bit more responsibly on the ground through like dash blocking and doing this, you know, and baiting out options that you think could happen when you finally get this close. If DP is an option, then sometimes you just have to bait it. And obviously sometimes you can get away with it a little bit easier by doing stuff like this. He dissipates the projectile, but as long as you block, you should be able to get like micro dash 6Ps and stuff still, probably, if I had to guess on Benton. But you would have to spend bar to do it, right? I don't have any, I'll be real, I don't have like any super like just do this advice anymore for you. I would say in general, if you want like maybe something that I think is tangible, like tangible to me, but I guess it depends because some people find it harder to do, is I would say start learning burst points. Burst points are something that I recommend to people if they're just like, I don't know what to get better at at this point, and I'm still plateauing and etc. Because clearly to me that means that there's a lot of little things that you have to continue to now chip away at, but there are a lot of different things. There's no one big thing anymore that will give you like massive progression in the learning curve anymore. But I will say burst points are that, right? With Axel, what is this on? It's on heavy, I think. Yeah. Aerial Benton, right? DP in the air is a burst point, like pretty much always. You kind of have to learn when he has to do it, but this is a burst point for him. Certain other ones are burst points too, but Axel's a character where I kind of wait until he finally gets a good combo to burst them on average. But learn the character's burst points too, so that at the very least you can consistently reset a lot. You getting to the point where knowing burst safe routes are inevitable? What do you mean learning burst safe routes? Do you mean you yourself or the opponent? Because I actually think you don't need burst safe routes as Soul. You don't need them. They're nice, but you don't need them. Honestly, the 2H thing is like the only thing that is like, you might as well do it because it's so easy. But I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean learning other people's combos or learning your own combos for OSs? Yourself knowing your own burst save combos, I wouldn't worry about it. Honestly, I would, yeah, just let them burst. Like, it's fine. I would sooner you do essentially what I told Lydia when she was practicing difficult confirms. I told her, stop doing difficult confirms, just do the combo, you know? With you, it's actually kind of the opposite. It's like, I would rather you just do good soul combos. Don't try to burst bait all the time. You need to reach a point where you can hit this combo like relatively consistently. Like dropping combos is also something you can't really do as Soul, low-key. Like, it's too important. You need to be able to do this every time. If you want like my 2 cents, I would say don't worry about burst baiting until you can actually convert into like a real good B&B every time. Just let them burst. It doesn't really matter that much. Especially because Soul's neutral is very solid in a lot of matchups, enough that like you shouldn't have to worry that much about somebody getting to play the game against you. That it's like, I get what you mean. Like, it's like, oh, I want to practice like what is the call? It's like OSing like this, where you do the OS where if they burst on the second hit, it's like, ooh, I get the OS, right, like that. But it's like, it's just like, it's exactly what Fut's saying. Like, it costs you a lot to finally beat right as Soul, that you should not worry about it. There's value in it, sure, but like, it's okay to just take it. There is value in taking somebody's burst, is what I always tell people. That focus on doing actual combos. Just let people burst. I'll give you one little like asterisk disclaimer when I say that. This is the advice I give people usually is primarily meant to be applied in like sparring context. The next time you play a long session versus somebody, anytime you're not in tournament, like I am always essentially saying like this is the advice you should follow, in my opinion, right? That it's like my disclaimer is like, if you're in a tournament context and you think you need to burst bait for whatever reason, sure, I guess is my response, because I won't say no to that. But know that my general opinion is I don't think you need to burst bait. I under most contexts in the game, period, at any level, it's probably not as necessary to burst bait as people think, unless you have like a notably bad matchup or the neutral's like unwinnable or something, you know, like, or sorry, not the neutral, the defense is like unwinnable or something, you know, like probably fine. That like burst baiting is like not that big a deal. Most of the time, just do good combos. I don't see you do good enough combos on average for me to think it's like worth you doing. I'll give you general advice. I'll give you this. Because again, I do think there's just a lot of things you need to work on. And that's not like, I don't mean that in like a negative way. Before you're like, oh my god, I don't know anything. I mean that as in like, Soul has a lot of situations you have to learn, and I think you're just at a point where like you might need them explained to you a little bit, because they're all a little different, and there's like reasons for doing one thing over reasons for doing another, and some things might not catch some guy's backdash, but some things catch another guy's backdash. Like Soul decision making is a lot. There's so many of them, but I'll give you this advice, because we still have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or to talk about it. Focus on doing your good combos when you finally get the hit, so that, let's say you do this, right? I want you to get to this situation and just do that. If you have trouble doing that, then do feint into this. It's still plus, I'm almost positive. Let me double check, but it's just less plus. It's definitely less plus. But I want to say, like, feint into Gunflame is still a little plus. But anything is better than fucking up. Oh shit, hold on, I'm not used to doing it. We can make a day for it. It's not a day, it's more just like you just message me when shit happens. Lydia and I just like, she just messages me. Like when I give her advice and she says like, I don't think that works because of this, I tell her the next time it happens, just send it to me. And then we talk about it. Because sometimes I don't know what people are saying when they try to describe the problem for themselves. But look, my point is this. I'm going to do this as I'm talking about it. This is still plus. The situation is still good for Soul. You need to learn to put yourself in good situations so that you can learn to focus on calling specific things out and then hit confirming those specific things when you're right. The best way, in my opinion, to, at least for now, for you to try to like really focus on that skill and that patience is to put yourself in situations like this. How plus is this? +9 still? That shit's hella plus still. Right? Put yourself, this is a situation like that. He can Benton, he can not Benton. You know, like, situations like this, I have 12 frames of advantage here. Right? Not enough to really guarantee anything necessarily, but I get to guess. I get to, like, hone in on, like, this beats this. This beats that. This beats that. The best way for you probably right now to get there is to practice some real good corner Soul combos to do it. I want you to actually get the knockdown. Ideally, if you can do delayed Gunflame, it's more plus. But Gunflame feint into Gunflame immediately. Like immediate feint, immediate Gunflame should still be plus. Obviously, you can spend the bar to force a mix-up, and I think that's fine too. I've never done that personally as Soul, because I think he really, really needs the bar for other stuff. That I don't like betting on hoping somebody doesn't block. But that's personal, that's my preference, is what I was going to say. The other thing you can do is anytime you're getting knockdowns, in my opinion, because I started doing this when I was replaying Soul recently, and I think it's really good. I think it's actually really solid until people learn how to actually play around it. So I'll recommend it to you too, and you'll see how it goes. Where anyone that has a DP like this, learn all the characters off your knockdowns, right? Like let's say you get this, do a safe jump like this, right? Set up safe jumps and do your mix-ups off of the safe jump. And what I mean by that is like, this is a safe jump, but I'm going to run my mix-up off of it. The reason I'm doing this is because it's very easy, I've noticed, for Soul players to accidentally get caught in this situation, right? Where you're doing the mix-up, but it hits meaty. Right? And that's, in some ways that's better, in some ways it's worse, in my opinion. It's better because obviously they have to deal with the meaty mix-up if they block here. The problem is that most people won't opt to block versus the mix-up. They will backdash, they will blitz, they will DP, they will do a lot of different things, right? Throw OS if they think it'll work, even though it shouldn't in this situation, right? The tricky part for those is that you can catch them in different ways, right? Obviously, you can wait and still bait reversals. You can do air dash JP on instead of the mix up there, and you'll catch back dashes. All of that is true, but in my head, the way I look at it is like, I would actually kind of rather have the potential to safe jump you like this and then run safe offense, or run a mix up at the last second, right? The mix up is not true in the sense that if I run this mix up and he holds up, he gets out of it. That's not meaty at all. But I could also safe jump him, right? You can fuzzy jump this type of thing and get out of it. That's why this isn't actually good, and why you don't really see Soul players always do it. But this will help you out because it beats a lot of immediate reversals when people don't understand the situation, right? So if I knock this dude down like this and he picks backdash, jump S, jump H catches it. And you can do your whole B&B. You can land and you can press 5H and do the whole B&B like that, right? If he does tap blitz, it hits so late that the jump S still catches tap blitz on wake up. Tap blitz is only going to catch the safe jump timing, right? He has to charge the blitz, which in my opinion, at that point, I don't really give a shit because the punish isn't a big deal anyway. But that's me personally, right? But try this. Does that make sense? Like the benefit to doing this is that if you do this, you can still safe jump people, right? They can't just press a button on wake up because you're doing fake shit sometimes. Because at any point, you could just do a real safe jump and get a hit. This is surprisingly effective, is the way I would put it. Versus a lot of people. Take it from me doing it to people like all the time, I say. Where it's like, I actually stopped doing as many situations. I'll do the normal B&B, say like this. As Soul. Right, so normal B&B, etc, etc. I have started to do a lot more DP on the knockdown on any character. I'll route into DP a lot more these days. I'll do something like this. It varies, obviously, but like I'll do this because this sets up a safe jump. 6P, grounded 6P into revolver is actually so much fucking frame advantage. It's hard to time the safe jump. You can learn it. I learned it. Like, it just takes time, but it's actually easier to do this off of like DPs and stuff if you're gonna opt for it. But yes, my point is those two situations, when you get knockdowns in the middle of the screen, right? Like stuff like this, when you get some mid-screen knockdown off anything, revolver, sweep into nothing, try your best to learn the safe jump timing so that you can sometimes run a mix-up, and the mix-up can vary. You can do jump S, jump D, which is obviously the best reward, but you could also catch people thinking they have to block it and do early JS 2 hits JH like that, right, on the safe jump potential like that. Or you could do late 1 hit like that. You could do late jump S, 1 hit 2H, or 1 hit jump H and then go low like this, right? But do those two things. Learn your safe jump timing so that you can threaten a safe jump while running mix-ups every now and then, and it'll give you the ability to scare people off always guessing, because that is a big part of what is annoying as Soul when you get your openings. And then do good combos. Do good combos whenever you can. Set up situations, and then if you need to talk about, because these are all a little bit different, so I can't cover them all right now. Plus we're out of time, so maybe we'll talk about them. If anything, maybe we'll talk about them at Calibers, because I'm coming up in September anyway, so we'll probably see each other if you're going. We'll sit down. I have like 2 or 3 people I'm probably gonna sit down and talk to. Not to sound threatening. That sounds really threatening. That sounded really weird when I said it like that. But there's like 2 or 3 people I'm probably gonna sit down and be like, oh yeah, like we'll talk about the situation like here after they block Gunflame, and we'll see like what you know and like what you don't know about it and like what you're comfortable with and whatnot. But yes, for now, do that. Do good combos. Don't worry about bursts. Set up safe jumps and do fake mix-ups, and people will be surprisingly susceptible to them. Yeah, I'm gonna use his full name when I show up to Early Burst. Alright. Yes. Like I said, it's tough because I'm trying to think of like what I would give you, because you have a lot of the other stuff down, right? That it's like tangible things or stuff like that. Putting yourself in a good situation so you can practice the skill that you need. And then not overthinking burst stuff. Also, I still think learning other characters' burst points is good, man. I'll always die on that hill. Alright. MKJ. Alright, roll call. Where are you? Roll call. I start the timer once I see people like say they're here. Alright, what's up? Good. I don't think you wrote anything, right? Was there anything specific in this VOD you wanted me to try to pay attention to? If not, I mean, there's always stuff to talk about that I think, you know, is like worth mentioning. But I figure I'll ask. Wait, what happened to Third Strike? What are we listening to? Should we listen to House Disco? Oh, this might get DMCA'd. Hold on. Let's do Pokemon music. It's been a while since I listened to Pokemon music. Nothing in particular? Alright, we'll talk about it. Yeah, sometimes... Oh, what? That's not the one. I like the song Smash Ultimate, though. What happened to all the old mixes? There's some really good old mixes that existed. Chill and relaxing. There we go. All banger. Alright. Timer. Woo. I'm gonna skip like a little bit into the set. I think it's nice to just like, we'll skip this game and we'll start from here. It's like 30 minutes, so we only need to watch a portion of it. And I think it's nice to see like what adjustments he's made to you by this point, and potentially vice versa. It's a knockdown. So I'm gonna talk about the situation really briefly, because I do think it is important to try to generally recognize a Dizzy setup. Once Dizzy sets a fish here, a lot of the times she is probably, like, if she sets Firefish on you in the corner like this, she's probably gonna do the mix-up herself. Well, that sounds weird to say it that way. My point is, like, she's gonna act immediately a lot of the times. Off of Firefishes, she tends to act immediately for a lot of the Oki. That's not always true, but that tends to be true. If you're blocking Ice Fish, she's probably setting some shit up in advance, is, like, usually how it works. So when you see this Firefish, a lot of the times I start to get ready for, like, stuff like that. Obviously, you still just get opened up, but I do think it's important because sometimes, like, if she does it, like, over here, it's important to know, like, you're going to block something and then just keep an eye on Dizzy because she's not going to really do many other summons if she started with Firefish. Usually that is the case. Or she'll have to spend resources to make a setup true or something like that, right? Yes, I was going to say, I'm glad you did this because I was going to say, I think characters with higher jump arcs get to do this a little bit better than characters with, like, heavier jump arcs and stuff. But if you jump and air dash back, this tends to not catch a lot of characters. I think this is a good habit to have. The other thing I'll tell people is when I see this fish, obviously I autopilot this. If she does the other fish, the other one where she goes high and it hits you in the air, I don't tech into Dizzy. Just eat the hit. It's okay. It's okay. Because a lot of the times she's going to move forward off of the fish, right? Like, she'll still probably end up where she's standing right now. But let's say he picked the high laser and it hit you right now. Don't tech into Dizzy. Always tech back. The space is still okay. It's not that bad for you. The big thing is that, like, again, let's say you got hit and you're teching, like, right here. It's not that big a deal because she's still too close to really summon anything. But if you tech into her and she presses 6P or 4S or any of those things, you just eat damage for free. But I say this because I always do the jump air dash back thing versus Firefish, pretty much always. But I'm okay with eating the high fish hit. I don't really change what I do very much if I think she's going to high fish. A lot of the times, I'll just hope I get the block on high fish. But if I don't, I tech back a lot of the times. I just don't give it to her for free. Because she's still giving up value. The value here, by the way, the reason it's not a big deal to block airfish or get hit by it is because when you block the low fish, Dizzy does mix-ups on you. You're grounded and she gets to do actual mix-ups on you. So you don't want to be there. Shotgun's pretty good. You're just autopilot doing the thing you mentioned at Gold Burst. Late air dash back to dodge Ice Spear. No, it's good. You don't have the timing super well. No, it's good. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm mentioning this because he's going to rotate that. If you keep doing that, he's going to throw high fish eventually. That's the level 2, but it's like good and it's good to like interact with it. The other thing I was gonna mention is, and this is more specific to him than everybody else, but I do think it kind of probably comes up versus a character like Dizzy. He tends to just jump. Focus your offense on just catching jumps. Don't really make the assumption that Dizzy, specifically like Dizzy in general, will like ever really challenge you too much. It's not very common. Meter expenditure. This is never like. What I tell people is, like, it's not a good situation, but I don't really mind Ice Spike too much versus Dizzy. I mind when she does fake pressure versus me. Is a much bigger deal, personally. Like, all these situations, I generally tech back. Sometimes I delay my tech back, because Dizzy can't get a combo here, but getting air thrown or getting anti-aired is a big problem. Your goal here is to not get anti-aired off air to airs, or like not get air thrown. Punish. This is also like if you want to ever practice it in training mode. I talked about it a little bit at Gold Burst. If you instant block Dizzy's 5H, it limits a lot of her pressure, more than you'd think. If you instant block this move, she's like -2 or 3 off of it. We'll check in training mode. But it means that he can't do this to you as easily. He can't just press buttons afterwards, potentially, because you could do other things. Sets off the explosion, gets the low. Another like quick piece of advice that I give a lot of people, and I think it's better earlier in a set versus Dizzy, and then you establish it and you don't make it your whole game plan necessarily. Setups like this, right? So like Ice Fish, so stuff like this, right? Like you get hit, right? It was like I said, when you see this is like the most common Dizzy setup, I would say, with like high level Dizzies. If you see Ice Fish, she's setting stuff up. Like it's gonna take a while, but you're gonna block a mix-up. Just obviously don't pick anything on Wake Up. It's not gonna work. But also like just wait around. It's not like that crazy, right? Like she's setting this up, then the explosion happens. She air dashes during the explosion. The fish hits you after the explosion, so the mix-up is a true mix-up most of the time. What I was gonna say is you can burst here. 2H Y or C works. Yeah, I could see it. It just depends. It definitely seems like it would depend, because you would go under the fish, but he might have mistimed it, honestly. Sometimes Dizzies just don't time the fish to be meaty. What I was gonna say, this setup, when you see the the ice fish into the explosion into air dash, you can burst here. As she's about to do the mix-up, you usually can't tell, but that fish is actually not really like there anymore. It already did the last hit. A lot of the times, because Dizzy is like right on top of you, if you burst the mix-up here as it's happening, you actually get your burst to happen. And I mentioned it because like this is a good way to shut Dizzy down, you know? Yeah, what do you think? Yeah, you can burst like here, right? The scary thing is all Dizzy has to do is wait, and you're wrong, right? But you can at least force her to wait there. What? My bad. They were asking if I wanted any food. Let's try. So here, as soon as you get to this button, my guess is he's trying to jump out. Yep. Like, you really have to, like, and I'm not too, like, locked in on what Elphelt does to catch jump here. My guess is maybe, like, shotgun shot, but this is really far. IED was trying to catch him jumping. You should do just IED JK here, or JP if you're going to catch jumping. Don't do the pine toss. I know what you mean. Usually it catches, but Dizzy's kind of slimy. She doesn't get caught by a lot of things when she super jumps. Oh, this is a bad situation. I would put this away. As soon as this has not worked out, IMO, well, I guess it depends. I don't know. I don't like the idea of getting caught in shotgun at a distance versus Dizzy, if she's already got summons, but that's just like my surface level thought on it. Let the ice spike pass. One of the other things I was going to mention that I have been doing a little more recently, when you dodge a fire bubble, so like it's kind of hard to recognize the situation as it happens, but this one, so like as she runs away and you recognize this fire, pay attention to how she uses fire bubbles. If she uses fire bubbles to wall you out, like in these moments, you can't run past them, but you should pull sniper out at least every now and then here and take a shot, because she's so far she can't threaten sniper, but if she summons, you're gonna get that shot most likely. Like, does that make sense? The key here is like, he sets this bubble, sure, but he runs away when he does it. So you're like, oh sweet, I'm gonna backdash, let the bubble pop, and then do stuff behind it, right? His goal here with Dizzy is usually to get you to try to run into it and block it, and then it builds him the time and frame advantage to safely summon. But characters that have options that exist at full screen can basically move backwards away from the explosion, threaten full screen options, and Dizzy kind of has to think about it. And the big thing is bubble is only usable like when it's like not on screen. So normally her biggest stop sign, better than anything else, is bubble. So if she's using her stop sign at like a distance that's really far away where she can't even threaten you if you pull out sniper, I think it's pretty good to represent. Scott. Nice. I was also gonna make a note. It's a little tricky because I think Elphelt doesn't have like as easier of a time, but I think not this distance. It's like you kind of land into it. If you, nah, I'll wait for it to come up because that wasn't quite it. Jump. I will say one thing. So this is just my opinion. I talked about this a little bit. I think maybe during like the last VOD review or something else. There's something to be said about like, I would say you don't have to tunnel vision on catching jumps all the time. Once you do this 6H, I actually think the distance that you get left at on the pushback is good for you. Even versus Dizzy. Because obviously if you cancel here, you end up like over here where my mouse is standing. The big thing to remember is there's a couple things to remember. One, you have close slash. So when you crouch at that distance, if she sends it on air dash for any reason, close slash is probably a punish. The other thing is like, and I'm going to show it because like it comes up right here, I think. Does it? Or was it earlier? No, it comes up like right here on the far slash. So I don't actually think Dizzy jumping out here is a big deal if you're standing over here. Because she's just like anybody else, she just has a couple more steps before she does it. Where if in order for her to get out, she has to air dash in the direction that lands on top of you, right? If you see her super jump like that, she has 2 air dashes, right? So you're kind of just like hanging out, and once she seems like she descends a little too low, where she wouldn't be landing on you, she'd be landing like in you, then you can do stuff like 6H on reaction, etc. But I'll talk about it. Like I try to highlight that situation because it comes up a lot, I think, when you're applying offense to Dizzy, and I think if you understand how to play around it better, I think it helps a lot versus her. We'll watch one more because there's a couple things already to talk about. I'll focus on the offense a little bit, and I think the defense we'll talk maybe a little bit about 1 or 2 things. Nice pickup. A little bit of a weird hit. I would tech back. Yeah. Boom. He's gonna summon off your explosion. Yeah, that's tough. Yes, so like this distance. I think this is one of those where this is, to me, is like why people throw fireballs in Street Fighter. You don't do this sniper shot because like, yes, it's gonna counter hit all the time. You do it every now and then because eventually he's not gonna let you do that sniper shot. And you punish him when he's trying to call it out. That's a good goal burst. So this, yes, exactly. This situation is what I'm talking about. As long as you're getting clipped by these in a way where like you don't get thrown or anti-aired, it's fine. Right? Don't ever really get too lazy with your text versus Dizzy because it is one of her downsides. Nice route. That she has to deal with that shit. Damn, you can blitz that, huh? That sucks. The proximity was a little too close. Bum bum. Spin bar. You're chilling. I would 5H. Yeah, I would have done the same. Or I would press /RC at some point on these. Hit. Boom. He's probably gonna try to blitz if he has to. Also, another thing, and we'll talk about it because I'm gonna cover some of Dizzy's pressure. Is it's important to remember when you see 2D like this, it's like, I'm pretty sure Elphelt specifically can just rip backdash here, and I don't think Dizzy can stop it. Like, spaced out 2D, I think there's nothing she can do about it. If you, especially if you instant block, I think you can just backdash on reaction to the instant block. I don't think Dizzy can catch it, because his button is only special cancelable. There's nothing she can do besides special cancel 2D. So, like, this situation, if you backdash, that's probably what he read, is my guess, when he did Firefish. Is a situation he can't punish, but also it means like you can sometimes mash 5H on 2D. It's basically the biggest threat that she has is I spike YRC, and that is a big threat. But it's like if she spends 25 bar, it costs her 25 bar, right? You can also backdash out of that, and I'm pretty sure yours is too fast to punish. I don't think she gets a punish on it unless she's really close by. It's important RPS. Like 2D is a button to be a little bit ready to react on with stuff versus her. Alright, skip the pickup. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you could do a burst safe route off that. Hit. I'm surprised that he thought he could check here. I guess she probably can. That does seem obnoxious, that 6 trains. Because you're -3, but I think Shaw would still trade, right? Hard to run shotgun pressure on Ray. I think you might be... I don't know. I don't see why, besides Dizzy 2P, why it'd be so difficult. But I think maybe you're just like hyper focused on him doing a couple things. Because I would think on paper it would still be pretty chill. Yeah, this is the situation why I don't like staying in rifle once he has summons going for him. I would put it away. Because having access to normals and regular movement is really important versus Dizzy. Like, I get that shotgun feels nice because if you have him approach you, you have a 1-frame option here. But he's no fool. He's going to make you block something and run a mix-up. So it doesn't matter. Like, being able to jump is too important versus Dizzy. I think that if you didn't already hit him and he looks like he's summoning, you should put that shit away, in my opinion. Yeah, 6P. You can't interact with that. Again, like, it's so easy to get baited by this, but it's like, it's just not worth it, dude. Like, teching into Dizzy is always, like, such a losing gambit. You want her to overextend into you. That's why she's so tedious to fight. Oh, you can just run under that. If ice spikes track you in the air, like, up here, like, when you're still, like, not on the ground, you can run under them. You would have been able to just, like, run under that, I'm pretty sure, and crouch. You can dash and then FD break and crouch under it. Nice. Kills? Nice. Oh no. Blitz. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, we'll talk about a couple things. I mostly want to talk about the corner situation stuff, I think. Because you tend to get, like, openings versus him, you know, which is, like, a big part of what you need to win. Is just like, oh, I hit him, you know. But he's not threatened enough, I think, on his... Dizzy, what I've learned playing him kind of recently is Dizzy is kind of bad on defense. Oh, my game crashed. Give me a second. I gotta relaunch it. Dizzy is kind of bad on defense. I don't think she's as bad as people like make her out to be. Obviously, she's easy to stun and relatively low health, but I don't think her actual defensive options are too bad. She's got an invincible super. She's got a pretty good 6P. She's got 2S. 2S alone redefines matchups, the way that characters apply pressure to her. But I do think that if she's at a disadvantage somewhere, it's probably on defense. Let me see. So I want to talk about it because, especially because, he'll autopilot it a lot. I think it's important to have like some kind of game plan, versus it, even if it's obviously not like super concrete. Oh, you just always win. It's more just understanding the interactions. So let's say you do something like, oh, whoops. Like this, right? Let's say you pull Pineberry. I think in general this distance is not too bad for a couple of reasons. I think Ice Spike barely hits, but no, yeah. See, so if you can end up outside the range of this, Dizzy doesn't really have like too many things that she can do, like everybody else, right? If she commits to IAD at a distance like this, let's say, I'm tossing this just so I don't have it because I'm trying to show. But if she does something like this, you should be able to close slash, right? Like she doesn't have anything that hits you crouching there, right? So if for whatever reason that was his option, you don't have to worry about it. Ice Spike YRC won't reach you as long as you space out pretty well. But even if it does, it costs him 25 bar. I don't usually mind it that much. But also if you're worried about Ice Spike YRC, you can backdash like that. All right, so let's say, do it like this. So let's say you're like applying pressure to her, right? And you're like, he's gonna Ice Spike here. You can backdash like that, and it's the same situation, kind of, right? Like you're just kind of like, okay, like this is fine. If he air dashes, I'll probably just crouch it, and press S or press 5P, right? But the idea is like it costs him bar, and you didn't block it, so like he can't just set shit up for free. Like if you start seeing him set up, you could just do like micro dash 6H if I had to guess. Like Go to a little 6H, dash in. He's not safe at this distance, is the thing, right? I Spike YRC didn't hit you because you backdash, but he's still safe. And that's honestly his best option versus something like this, right? But if you push him out, a lot of the times he'll do something like this, right? He'll go up here. And if I see him like kind of up there, a lot of the times I will, me personally, I'll just kind of wait around and see it. Like, I'm just going to call his bluff, right? Because the idea is like, is he going to air dash out, right? Chances are he's not going to do this because it's not really like safe to do this. You run out of both your options. You don't get that far. And a lot of the times people will like see you doing this. So I want to say I don't really see him doing this. Like, because you kind of have to land into people's buttons still. So a lot of the times he'll do like set into like delay or whatever. But I don't really mind that too much. A lot of the times I'll keep an eye on sharking her. With my goal to be like, if I do it well enough, like if I'm over here and I'm like, yeah, he's going to summon. And I actually don't really like air throwing it, but if I think he summons, I think sometimes I do like air to airs. But most of the time I want to say I just wait and chase his descent. Like I would just press close slash here probably. But you hang around at a distance where a lot of the times you're just trying to stay like here versus Dizzy as she lands. And honestly, once she's in the air up there, it's not too difficult to do it. But the idea is you have to be cognizant of this option. She does this on the way down. You have to have like this distance between you when she's landing, which if you notice, is do it with this and put it away. Is this distance, right? It's like same distance. Like it's actually even further. You don't even need to do it from like that far, right? But same distance, right? So you want to kind of like hang out and chase him on the way down over here and just do what you normally do, right? If he's doing other things to delay, then you have to interact and chase them a little bit. But eventually, like if you can get him to stay in the corner and do stuff like, yeah, he doesn't really do that. He does like this a little bit more, I think. He'll do like these things. I don't really mind these because I'll just kind of eventually hold space, and as Elphelt I would just use this button to threaten him all the time, right? Because again, if he does something like this and he tries to air dash at you, once he's kind of like down here, around here, this distance, once he falls down here, I would send it on 6H like most of the time, or 5H or 4 slash, depending on the timing. But like that, the idea is like, even if he was to delay in different ways, like most of the time I think you're fine because you're not going to land into him, right? Like I'm doing this because I'm like, oh, he's going to fall and I'm trying to time it. It's like, that's not that bad. But my takeaway here is like letting him jump isn't actually the worst thing ever. It doesn't feel good, and if you can help it, that's good. But don't, your offense is going to become too linear if all you're doing is trying to stop him from jumping. You know, like spending this because you're worried he jumps and he doesn't feels really bad. You need bar, man. Like you don't want to spend your bar for no reason, right? Because he's not getting hit by this. He never got hit by this ever, right? Like you would do this because you're like, oh, I'm trying to catch jump. And you would do this to make sure you jailed him, and he would block it, and he would get 50 bar for free, right? Because he never really got opened up afterwards anyway, so it costed bar. That I would hold the space more. Do what you normally do with people. And if you're worried about Ice Spike, just, you know, like hold distance. Yeah, that's my point. If he doesn't get clipped by Bridal, then you need to take advantage of it. Right? It means, to me, that means he's not respecting this option, or he's not being aggressive versus it, right? Because think about it this way. Like, your concern in this situation is more like this, right? If he was to, say, do this, right? In this situation, like, let's say you summon and he does, like, run up button, right? This is why you don't like doing this, I would imagine, as an Elphelt player. So you don't want to always do this because people will air dash at you, maybe, or they'll send it on an option, or they'll, you know, whatever. But he's not, right? Like, he's only at worst jumping. And I don't think that's that big a deal. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but let's say, like, you do this and his response is that. Like, why wouldn't you just high toss and backdash like that? That's my thought. Once I see him jump, you know, I would probably high toss if I had Pineberry and backdash. Because Pineberry is going to hold it down for me in front. And I'm going to cover if Ray tries to go over it, right? Like, if Dizzy tries to go over this with an air dash off that jump, I'm going to take care of that. Right? And I just hold the distance that stopping him from jumping by having good positioning rather than always committing. Yeah, you just need to hold your positioning, exactly. Hold your positioning and use your good buttons, you know? And the biggest thing is just be careful of this. As he's like running around or doing whatever, you have to be careful of this button. Don't get too complacent because you're going to get caught with this, right? So like in these situations, you need to like backdash and press 5H, you know? All the situations where you're trying to hold position versus Dizzy, you need to keep track of when she starts to get too low altitude. Don't leave yourself so close that jump K is going to own you. Because if you do, this will happen. And then Dizzy gets her whole game plan started. But if you were to say do this, like I see Ray air dash back, I backdash. Like, no, I don't want to get caught by that, right? Because what's the trade-off here? He does this, sets, and then starts setting. That's not a big deal. Like if I do this and I do one shot, it's not a big deal if he starts summoning. But what I don't want to happen is I don't want to get caught by Dizzy just coming down from downtown to do this. But my thing is don't challenge it directly. Give up space and call her out if she did it. I see a lot of people try to do like 6H here or something. And it's like, this shit is one, like, it's good reward, but if he doesn't commit to it, you whiff 6H entirely. Or if you miss the timing, you're just cooked for free, right? Learn to use 5H for it more instead. Just do this. If you still can't do that, I'll press delayed far slash, I guess. Yeah, delayed far slash works. You can react with sniper if he doesn't air dash forward. But you get what I'm saying, right? You have to assume he air dashes forward. Like, I'm saying you have to assume. Whenever this option starts to come up, you lose too much if you don't assume he's going to air dash, he gets too much value. Does that make sense? Because like if you were to do this, you lose too much value, right? Because if you see him go back and you're like, oh, he's going to do summon, he's not going to air dash like that, then you get caught. As soon as Dizzy positions herself here, anytime in any context, air dash forward JK will own you. That's like anybody. But she can't catch backdashes for a lot of the characters at that like max distance, which is why I'm like, when you see her air dash back, don't bite. Like, give up the space. As soon as I saw this and her descending, I backdash like this as the person fighting Dizzy a lot of the times. It sucks if you're a character like Soul, because Soul actually does lose a lot when Dizzy backs off and does this and starts to set everything up. But Elphelt doesn't, if that makes sense. Like when he does this to try to bait you, you don't really lose that much, right? Because you always have an option like this. So it's like when you backdash and you check like that and nothing happens, you're like, I'm really far anyway. Let me just pull sniper out, right? The problem with Dizzy, not problem, but the thing she struggles with is when she gives up space in this matchup and you give up space at the same time because you thought she was going to call you out and get aggressive or whatever, you end up at a distance where, yeah, she can't punish sniper, like, period. Like, she's just too far. She has to do some wonky shit like this, you know? And it's not that she can't, but, you know, like, she has to do that, you know? But yes, long tangent, but it's more learn to hold space versus him. His only grounded tool that's good at really punishing you for it is Ice Spike YRC. This is the only thing, and it's a good option. Don't get it twisted. It's a really good option. But as long as you're, say, like this far, he kind of has to go to the air. Like, he has to air dash or do something. Or commit to running up, which doesn't feel good as Dizzy, because she has good grounded buttons. But in the face of Elphelt, like, she's gonna maybe get out neutral. If anyone's gonna maybe do it, it's probably Elphelt. Let's go under. Oh, you know what? No, this doesn't, right? I think this, like, sometimes gets hit. Yeah. This is so good. But yes, keep that in mind. The other thing I was going to say, so obviously, when Dizzy sets up a mix-up with the most common setup, right? Like Firefish into this, into Air Dash into Icefish. When she does her mix-up, burst as it happens, you get your burst. Similarly, like when she does 6H point blank like this for combo extensions. Point blank, not farther away, because his button can hit from over here. Like, if it hits over here, don't do it. But if she's point blank, 6H is a burst. Pretty much always. Also, sometimes, but not always, I'll eat a throw from Dizzy, like in a situation where it's strike throw specifically, because depending on the mix-up she runs, I think I told you already at Gold Burst when we were talking about it, but if somebody throws you, your reversal window becomes like the Gold Burst window. Like normally reversal Gold Burst on a knockdown is a 1 frame window, But if somebody throws you, it just kind of widens, and you can do it during your entire reversal window, and it's still a gold burst. So sometimes eating that throw is not that bad, because depending on the Oki she runs, you can gold burst her. And like, especially if, let's say, you ate a throw here and she does that air dash mix up, and you let's say she threw you, she does the good setup in the corner with the ice fish and she air dashes, the one I said you can burst. If you gold burst, sorry, not gold burst, if you no, actually, never mind, this is a different situation. I'm thinking of different Oki, not the ice fish Oki. There's the one where, like, if she sets like fire bubble on top of you and tries to like pop it, you can gold burst, but that's a different Oki's I'm in. That's one where like you pop the fish with your gold burst, but she doesn't get it punished because it's a gold burst. I'm trying to think. The only other thing I would say is, if you're looking for something to try defensively versus Dizzy, usually something like I-being is like pretty solid. I wonder if you can plus 5k here. Yeah. Oh, you can just mash straight up. Yeah. So this spacing is probably like the most annoying spacing, because if there are ranges where her 2p will outrange your option, like, and you have to press something else. But honestly, this looks pretty good to me. My point was that if you instant block close slash, she shouldn't get to stagger you anymore. That's not how Dizzy works. If she does, also in general, by the way, if you IB close slash, I was telling Milk about this. If you IB close slash, there's always a gap on all her Gatlings afterwards. So like, even if she does this, you can call it out. If she does 5H, there's always a gap. Like, there's just always a gap on IB. See? So like, you can tend to, yeah. You haven't applied it in games yet. Pretty much, I would say the simplest way to apply it is like, practice instant blocking this anytime she does it in strings, right? Like when she sets up Firefish, or not Firefish, Ice Fish, you know, FD her out when it's her and the fish, but once it's just her, you want to IB that. IB that, you can backdash it, it's really good as Elphelt. But most of the time, it's not that you want to like make a whole game plan out of it, but if Dizzy can't reset you and do like shit like this to you, I think is like when she feels like she's a little easier to block, in my opinion. If she has to do stuff like this, right? This is already not that threatening, in my opinion, because one, she has to like Ice Spike Wire C to force you to respect here. All of her other summons are like not a big deal, right? Like she might try some shit like this to you, right? Which is again kind of like the thing I was saying, where it's like, I talked to Milk about this, where it's like when you see Dizzy give up space, but it's in that range where air dash forward is an option. Right, like this. You need to be preemptive, right? Like once I see this backdash, I have to assume he's gonna air dash forward, because if I don't, it's not worth it. Right? If you want to cash in really big, then you can see him dash away and do this and hope it trades, and this is really big reward. I just don't like the idea of that whiffing. Yeah, that looks pretty good, honestly. Far slash looks pretty solid then. But yeah, hopefully that kind of gives you an idea. Or like, her pressure on these situations, I think, is not that big a deal. You can also 6p this, but I think it's like kind of funny and not good. But it has upper body info, obviously. But yeah, that should usually get her to do things like, same thing with this. I said I would show, like, if she does this, damn, that's a lot. You have to do this super late. So like this, for example. She can't punish this, right? This is actually a pretty big thing for Elphelt, because not a lot of characters have a backdash that's this good. Where once you see a button like 2D, you kind of just backdash it on IB. I don't know about regular block as much, but on IB, I want to say, like, if she's not already in range to hit you with something during your backdash, she cannot punish it. So you just get out, right? And again, that's kind of one of the benefits of, like, what if you're mid-screen versus her, and you've already proved that you know how to deal with close slash, so he starts to do things like this, right? Oh, that doesn't even reach. To do it like this. Oh my god. Sick. And then again, kind of like to return. This is the last thing I'll say. When you get to this distance versus Dizzy, this is an uncomfortable distance for her. She needs to decide to move forward or move back. Does 5H beat the other cancel she wants to do if you show backdash? I think so, yeah. It should. I want to say she's standing for all her summons, so as long as you mash it immediately, it would work. I honestly don't really think you should do that, because I think getting away is usually more than enough. Because even if she overextends, the fish is only around for a second or two, so like she might chase you down, but you're kind of back to where you were before. I don't usually like gambling a ton, but I do it sometimes. I'll do instant air dash as Biken and it catches it. We'll look at that. That's like the last thing we'll look at. But it should. Let me see. Yeah, I'll catch everything. Because her fastest option is, I think it's ice version of that, right? Yeah, I think this is her fastest option here. Like, to protect herself. Everything else is slower. Or, we'll lose. Oh, oops, wrong. Cancel. What was it? Yeah, so you'll trade. That's like what she'll do if she thinks you're going to call her out. So you'll trade. Not that great, honestly. Wonder if this is a punish. No, it's not. I would maybe 2H there if you're going to press anything. 2H probably maybe actually beats everything that isn't the pillars. Maybe. Maybe not. Damn, this one's pretty good. You have to be like the right distance. 5H looks like it'll work on anything that's not that. But again, I warn you because that's what he's going to do. That's kind of why I don't really like engaging with it too much. I'll usually just back off. But yeah, I would say those are the big things. Learn to hold your positioning. Don't overthink it. Practice your IBs on close slash. It'll give you some extra breathing room. Use your burst well. If you can't burst well versus Dizzy, you're not going to beat Dizzy. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are. You need to be able to actually have your burst hit Dizzy in one way or another. If she keeps doing burst safe routes nonstop, then usually I burst the mix-up that she has to do. And that way, at least she has to not do mix-ups every now and then if I have burst, because she's worried about it, you know? Like, it's not that they don't have options, it's just that's kind of the only way I can think to fight Dizzy defensively a lot of the times. And then keep in mind, like I said, the big thing is that air dash JK catches a lot of people. A lot of people don't understand how to play around that range. Especially if you reset to, like, I didn't finish the thought, but off of like the ice spike situation, like this one, if you do this distance isn't good for Dizzy. It's not very comfortable because it's the same problem, right? Like, ice spike doesn't hit. She doesn't really want to run forward, and you're gonna have an option that can hit something like 6H will hit before her. If she air dashes and you crouch, you win, right? Like, you just press close slash at this distance because she'll end up right on top of you, right? So those situations, a lot of the times I'll just kind of wait and let her jump first and then play off of that. I don't like jumping first versus Dizzy. It depends on the situation, I guess, but that specific context, it's like I'm either gonna air to air her, I guess, but I'm biking, so it's different because your air to air as biking knocks down here. So I would air to air as Elphelt having the close slash. I would crouch and press it. Yeah, hopefully that gives you a couple ideas. It's a tough one, like especially for Elphelt. I think Dizzy far slash does a lot of work in that matchup at like giving her more respect in neutral than she would realistically deserve outside of that. All right. I think bdonp is next. I think everything goes in order of submissions at this point, honestly. Yes. Yeah. The good thing, in my opinion, I think about that matchup, at least, is like, honestly, if you get good offense as Elphelt, anybody will die to you. But you just need to learn to adjust your offense to how he defends. That I think it's fine. Alright, we're doing alright on time. The 5-minute buffer has been really nice for these. Gives like time to transition pretty smoothly. Oh, good. You didn't say anything, so I won't start people's VOD reviews until I know they're actually here. But we're good. You said you felt like you were getting out neutral. You know what's funny is I was curious what matchup you were referring to, and when I saw it was Chipp, I was like, ah. Yeah, honestly, that advice is good versus some other characters. But it depends. I would say that's good versus like Mei. That's good advice versus Mei too, probably. Maybe not like Millia, because Millia has better options to challenge that type of... Millia is designed to beat people doing that, is the way I would put it, so...
Yes.
Mute the game. And we'll start the timer. This matchup is interesting, because I've always just had the firm belief, like, it's gotta be bad for Chipp. But a lot of the Chipp players don't mind it. Like, Summit says he doesn't mind this matchup and stuff. And I can see the reasons why, but I don't know. This matchup is definitely, like, the definition of threading the needle. Also, we'll skip around. This is, like, what, 30 minutes? Yeah, we're definitely going to go to, like, 15 minutes in, whatever this game was. Yeah, we'll start from here. You think it's not bad once the Chipp player learns to not die? That's the thing, is I think Chipp, the way he is designed, has to interact eventually. Right? Like, he can't avoid dying, is why I would think it's bad. So, we'll talk about it a little bit when it comes to how Chipp interacts with you, but I think learning to recognize when Chipps are willing to do this is important. Chipps are willing to occupy the space that you, like, whiff into and keep shoving 5k there. And if you actually committed to the sway, they, like, always get you, basically. Oh, you got a knockdown. This situation, I think, to me, is one of the tough parts about the matchup, potentially, is that once Chipp blocks 6k, it's kind of hard to get him to not jump, of all characters. Chipp is really good at jumping out in that situation, because it's really scary to threaten other, like, air dash approaches on a character like Chipp with his good anti-airs. That's too far. His kills. Oh, he, like, super went out of his way to do this. Should definitely killed, like, just doing bonky. Definitely be right. Right on time. I don't know, Pat. I'll always believe it. It's got to be like, I don't know. This shit feels like to me when Slayer players are down bad about biking, and I'm like, dude, it's not that bad. Like, you guys just hate the neutral. You don't realize, like, he's supposed to have to win these exchanges. DP. Trade is good. It's a knockdown. I would also have done 3 6Ks in a row. It's chill. So this, you need to learn to recognize this situation. Like, Pat specifically has played this matchup enough to understand when Slayer players recognize something will not combo, right? Slayer players, you have now evolved far enough in the Slayer learning curve that you understand the situations where people are in advantage. Like, Pat running up here has the advantage on paper. If you press the button and he pressed the button, he would win. But you know that Dandy's sway will bait the button, right? So you press Dandy and then expect to catch the whiff punish on the way in. But he knows that you don't plan to sit still there, right? Because if you had, say, pressed a button in this situation, like if you had actually just teched and pressed 5k here, you would hit Pat before he presses jab. But Pat committed to calling you out. Like, Chipp is committing to calling you out there, so you have to play alongside it. Right? This is a big part of why I actually don't think it's that bad for him. Because it's like, well, he's still playing for interactions, and you out-damage Chipp. Oh no, this is so bad. Thank God. I was like, please remember what side he was on. Why don't people just press a zombie when they're up there? Knockdown. This is whatever, though. Yeah, you get out. Puts the button in place. I guess I'll mention it, but obviously, like, fucking elephant in the room is like, if you practice your execution, BDC bite will solve a lot of your problems post mappa. But until then, you do have to RPS. I think awkward is a good way to put it. I think this matchup can feel really awkward if you don't recognize Chipp's willingness to call out, like, a lot of your like whiff punish attempts with Dandy step with, like, his multi-hitting moves. Or not multi-hitting, his whiff cancelable moves. Air dash? No, I would have gotten hit. I usually eat a lot of the low pickups here because they don't ever feel as punishing as eating air dash off of Ryunagi. So on average, if I don't feel like actually pretending I can block the Ryunagi mix-up, I'll usually just guess high on average. Plus, Chipp converting a low mix-up is harder a lot of the times than him converting the air dash mix-up. Although it depends. Depends how the kunai's hit, I guess. Oh, a little early. It's that juicy, juicy face-up, wake-up timing on Chipp. I could see, so to me, this is the most awkward part. I do think neutral in this matchup seems super fucking awkward for Slayer. Because by the time you make it to Chipp, he's either throwing stuff out that you run into or he's already not there. That I could see it. Nice. Oh, I was going to cover this. I think yours was like the one set. Yeah, I watched like one game of it and I remember post-burst, just in general, especially if the Chipp player is already showing a willingness to do it, don't force your turn. After their burst, Chipps will check you on disrespecting and immediately running at them with this button. They'll do microdash 6H and it's good at catching both usually, especially the air, but usually it'll catch shit on the ground too. The key is to honestly just let them whiff it. Like if he whiffs this button and you teched into the corner, like you could do like delay tech into the corner with Mappa right after on the ground and you would probably catch this as a punish if I had to guess. It wouldn't be counter hit if most likely, but you would just punish it. But my point really is don't approach there. Yeah. It's too much value to give up for free. Especially when like it's unlikely that you would get away with what you actually wanted, which is like full screen air dash into them blocking your character, right? That's definitely like a dreamer moment, but I respect it. You might hear some crinkling. I'm gonna open some gushers I bought yesterday. Oh, that's a good ass 2S. Boom, boom. Mix 6P probably. We'll never know. What flavor? I don't want to buy the basic. Dude, hold on. Small tangent. I'm going to pause your timer because I want to ruin your review. But, so, they had the tropical strawberry pack, which is like the most common. And it was like $2 for the 6-pack. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't want to have a lot of gushers in my house anyway. It's not good to have candy here. But, I bought blueberry grape and sour blue raspberry, or like the flavors in this one, because I was like, these sound amazing. I love both of these, you know. It costs an extra $1 for these. These cost an extra $1 than the regular gushers. These were $3 for the 6-pack. I was so mad because I was like, no, I'm not gonna get got. Like, if I buy the regular gushers, I'm gonna be mad because I want the blue ones. I know I want these sour flavored gushers. I'm literally just gonna think about the sour gushers every time I'm trying to eat the regular gushers. So I spent the extra $1, but I was mad. Like, dude, come on, for gushers? All right, we're back. Small tangent over. I was fucking pissed, but yeah, this is I think I'm eating the blueberry one right now. Yeah, these are the blueberry ones. They're good, really tasty. I like a lot of berry flavored things over like citrusy stuff. So same situation again, by the way. 5K run up, he gets the punish. Tries to catch your tech, but JP kind of like saves you. This doesn't kill, I think, on Chipp, maybe? Nah, it does. Jesus Christ. Like 2 more hits. That's how they get you. They got me. I don't know. I wish they would have put the better gushers in like a different part or something. I would have never noticed. Also, I'm going to talk about, it's up to you. So, add, all right, well, wait, let me know when you're out. Word. Dude, I low-key, also shout out to Pat, thank you for the reset, appreciate you. But I low-key wish I could get rid of my affiliate thing, because, I mean, it's pretty sick every 6 months when I have $50 show up in my bank account, and I post the hide the money, poor people around gif on bluesky. But I hate that people get ads so much on my channel. I wish people just didn't. Like, I would give up the affiliate thing because I don't use it for anything. So people just get more ads now because I'm an affiliate than if I was like not partnered in any way. But I don't think they let me undo my affiliate thing. I was gonna say, and this is we'll watch this one in one more match and then we'll talk about the decision stuff. But this is also a situation, by the way, where it's like the branching schools of thought, because if you get this hit, you can also just P-Mappa. You've never tried it before, but P-Mappa is also an option, depending on like how comfortable you are in matchups. It's really like a different style of like what you play. Like the situation that you play after in that spot is different than being right on top of them, right? Yeah, Day is the only Slayer I see do P-Mappa, essentially. But I think it's really solid in some matchups. Not necessarily this one, but my point is I'm going to talk about it because it might be like something interesting for you to try in a matchup like this or others. Oki to death. Blitz. No, go slow. Watch one more. Yeah, but again, so a lot of, we'll cover this, I'm gonna talk about it, but a lot of like Pat trying to call you out for all of these backdashes and dandies. The backdash and the air dash cancels have been pretty good though. They seem like they're pretty alright for it. It's just, I would say maybe pick jump kick a little bit more, like so that you get situations like that more frequently. If you're doing the air dash and you're not positive that heavy is gonna hit like that. I'm also going to talk about this situation a little bit. I think when you reset to Chipp at this distance, there's a very important thing to consider when it comes to the fact that he could heavy teleport. Because Chipps early on, Pat and like other experienced Chipps are a lot better about this. They won't do it as much. But earlier on, Chipps are very prone to recognize the positional disadvantage and immediately H teleport on stuff like that. Like those situations like that. Although K teleport is a lot more chill than H teleport, I think there. That's gonna kill. Boom. Nice. It's mixed. I'll also cover, because I haven't seen you try it, we're also just going to talk about like general RPS versus Chipp on these knockdowns, because you can. Like, as soon as you see this knockdown, you can RPS in different ways. It just depends. You don't have the resources there, but we'll talk about it, because even a character like Slayer, I would agree that it's probably a waste to use stuff like Blitz a lot on Chipp, but you have access to it. And there are situations where it's a lot easier to execute and get off versus Chipp than like BDC stuff. Yeah, blitzing is good versus Chipp. It's very helpful, specifically versus Okazeme. Even as a character that could just get out without using the meter, if you don't know what side you're going, it might be helpful to represent. Good blitz. Good awareness on the string. Yeah, as long as you know to do it, it's fine. 6H. I'm surprised. I thought he was gonna 6P that. That's not gonna. Oh, the air dash. Oh, he did the easy confirm. I like the other confirm. That's probably my favorite Chipp combo. This into air dash back, air alpha's got to be my favorite Chipp combo when they can do it mid screen. All right, we'll talk about it a little bit. I want to talk about the concept of like waiting around a little bit more versus these situations versus Chipp. All the ones where Chipp kind of like, we'll put, how would I do this? I'll have Chipp as the CPU, it's better. And I'll be Slayer. I would say the first thing I would try to focus on if I was you in this matchup is I would learn to recognize when people, and this is kind of like a good habit to make in general with Slayer, but specifically in a matchup where Chipp has a button like this or a button like this, is you need to focus on when people are aware of this as an option. When people learn this is an option, you no longer really need to use it the same way anymore. People are overextending in a different way. So you don't have to worry about it, right? My point is, let's say Chipp gets, let me think. If I put tech back and I hit like this, I'll probably get the situation I want. Alright, yeah, this is good enough. Let's say Chipp does like, actually does neutral tech land faster there? It might. Right, so this situation is like the one I'm talking about, where let's say Chipp gets a hit like this, where he doesn't convert it, but let's say he presses a button. Dang, I didn't even think about it. You could probably just press 5k far slash and catch. You don't even have to press 5k into 5k again. But again, let's say you're in like this situation as Chipp. Let's be a little farther. Anytime he resets you, and we both recognize that... well, I'll show what you're trying to catch first. Sorry, it took forever to set up for whatever. So, let's say he does this, right? You're used to doing, like... Oh, I'm not actually jailed here, right? So, I'll do... Whoops. I'll do, like, tech, sway, and I'm gonna catch them, right? You're comfortable enough with Slayer to recognize when people know they have the frame advantage to stop you if you were to press a button, right? Like, let's say you to like do this and press a button, you'll get caught, right? But not doing sway, right? So people will learn to just call you out on that, because at the end of the day, like a hit is a hit. It doesn't really matter how you get it. So like, let's say somebody really like runs up on this shit and does this, then really the solution is simple. Just start pressing some more stuff in place. My whole point with this is like, you need to recognize when people are calling out the enemy and press a button in place. So like, so you don't have this happen to you, right? It's just, you have to believe in the opponent. This is like when I explain to other people, I'm like, yes, fighting games are about giving your opponent credit sometimes, right? You have to assume he knows that you have that option. So I would say try stuff like 2H in place if you think you can get away with it. Most likely, I would imagine 5k is probably like your best bet. You just press 5k in place, right? And you'll catch a lot of people overextending. But the next time you fight Chipp specifically, or honestly, other characters will do this to you too. I will do this to Slayer with other characters. When people chase it, press more buttons in place. Just embrace it. Like, Slayer cannot avoid these things too much. I mean, he can, right? Like, you could just backdash and run away, but that doesn't increase your chances of winning the match on a character like Slayer. Usually, resetting to neutral is not going to win you the match as Slayer. So you might as well embrace the decision-making process and RPS alongside them, right? But that happened a lot, like with Pat, specifically in that set. He kept calling you out. Every time he would get, like, error resets or anything like that, you would land, you would do this, like, almost every time. Or defensively, you would do this a lot, and he would call it out, right? That... Those are all situations where you can press the button in place. If you have them cornered or a situation like this, 2H counter hit, man. Like, that's all you need, right? If for whatever reason he thinks he can get away with this, and you hit this, that's like all you need as a Slayer here, right? But I would say that is important to... That is actually, like, very, very, very important to understand. The other thing I was gonna say, it's up to you, but this isn't related to your set. It's more just like... I haven't mentioned it till now because it hasn't mattered. But if you are having trouble with this situation in matchups, you don't have to play this situation. Like, it's not much better telling somebody, like, yeah, you can go back to neutral. It's not a big deal, right? Because Slayer neutral doesn't feel good in certain matchups like this one. But if you feel like you're losing this interaction more frequently than you're winning here, or you don't want to deal with DPs here or whatever, just start doing more PMAPA like that, right? You're still positioned pretty well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're even, like, on PMAPA hit, on standing hit. If it's crouching, you're +1, but it's not like it matters that much. But my point is, like, sometimes positional advantage is worth something. So let's say you get a hit like this. 0 on hit. Yeah, because K-Mappa's -1 on hit, and it's only 1 frame better. Right? So, like, look at the positioning here on that string, right? Again, obviously, if you get a hit that close, you could knock down. But let's say you got a hit, like, over here, right? Where you can't get the knockdown anymore. Well, I guess you could probably still get it on Chipp. But you know what I mean. Like, let's say you hit a hit over here, right? You could do K-Mappa and end up right on top of them. Or you could do P-Mappa and end up over here, right? If you think about it, especially like when you're holding corner positioning, it's not as bad as you might think. You're dead even. You have this button, you have this button. You can still dandy from over here, but you don't have to do it as close anymore. The downside is, yeah, like, people can get out easier versus you because you're not on top of them anymore, right? So, like, a character like Chipp might jump here, and, like, you just kind of have to, like, get into the situation and be like, oh, he's gonna jump, or else 6H, like, right away, you know? But this is more of a side thought. Don't worry about it too much in this specific matchup or, like, at any point. My point is, like, since you're so comfortable doing this now, you should try and experiment more with that, because you already have a better understanding of a lot of how his normals work for catching jumps or catching different situations, that putting yourself at this distance might teach you more about that too. And again, will help you if you don't want to RPS. It's up to you. I mean, Crocs never does this, right? And he is a 3-time combo breaker champion. Like, you don't need to do that. You can K-Mappa and just be right, or just have very good execution, and you'll get by just fine. But I would say those two things for sure. I also think, and you already know it, but like if Chipp is doing Okazeme, usually off of like 2D like this, I think representing Blitz is solid. Representing Blitz, or if you're gonna throw OS, I would honestly guess Slayer Close Slash would be a pretty solid throw OS. It's pretty fast. That I don't really think you need the upper body impulse sometimes, but I could be wrong. Versus a lot of Chipp Oki that's built around delayed air dashes, so stuff like this. And, of course, the one time I actually fucking hit the FDC timing properly. It's still worth it. It's still worth it. Jesus Christ. It's just so fucked, man. The only other thing I was gonna mention, but I've already told you to do this before, so I'm not gonna beat a dead horse a ton over it. But the other thing I was gonna say is, don't forget you can safe jump characters. You know, there are and it didn't happen too much, but like there are a couple of situations where, let's say, like especially if the next guess on Oki was gonna win you the game anyway, don't forget like you could just do a safe jump off of 2D. I think you can just hold up versus Chipp. Maybe you can't. I don't know what Chipp's face down timing is, but it should be fine. That's kind of slow. Might need to be farther. Did I not? I swear I gave you this advice. Oh, you're right. I did tell Joe to do that. You're right. Dang, I don't know what timing would be on him. I don't know if you get it off his sleeve. That's definitely not a safe jump. You might have to check this one, because in general, like let's say you get a good combo that ends like in a, like, let's say you get like one of these, you know, oh, it doesn't work. There we go. There's that face down timing. It's his face up timing. It's a little funky, but my point is like control is very important, and obviously like Slayer is not a character that gets a ton of control all the time, especially like on his Oki, right? Like you could backdash and just be right or whatever, and that's fine too. But my point is like don't forget you can kind of force people's decision making in a specific direction is the way I would phrase it. Like just because you can safe jump doesn't mean the Chipp player can't just blitz you when it looks like you're safe jumping. But the difference is now the mini game is no longer like DP beats all this bullshit or I block. Right? The mini game is like you could blitz or you could DP, and there's also nothing that says you can't just do this. Right? This is a classic. It's exactly what I told Learn earlier. Where if you set a safe jump up, some people have enough common sense to see the timing and go, okay, I can't DP. It's a safe jump, so I'm either gonna block or blitz. Right? But if they blitz and you do something like this, the delay on that air dash right before, obviously it's no longer a safe jump, but it's still going to pressure just the same if they block. And if they tap blitz, you call it out for free. Right? But this is kind of what I mean by like, instead of it feeling like I need to be right versus DP on my Oki, right? Like instead of being like, all right, is he going to DP? It's more like I knock him down. And it's like, I have the ability to safe jump, right? He has to recognize that my option that will meaty him is safe, right? So his options are a little more limited in that it's like, if he DPs here, you kind of have to be like, all right, fair enough, because I didn't actually safe jump you. But it's different from this situation, because in this situation, DP is a very valid option outside of you blocking it. You blocking it doesn't continue your offense. You safe jumping it does, right? So that's what I mean by that. You can direct people's decision making in different ways, right? It went from me being a situation where I'm like, well, shit, we're essentially both guessing more or less equivalently. Obviously, I win if I'm right, but I can make it a situation where it's like I'm still guessing. I mean, he could DP me on something like this, potentially, right? Or not DP. He could blitz me potentially on this, but I have a lot of control, right? And the thing that beats the blitz is scary, right? Like to challenge the defender, right? The defender, it's scary to see a safe jump setup and go, I don't think he's gonna safe jump me. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those where it's like, it's a pretty bold claim to be like, I don't think he's gonna safe jump me on this safe jump setup. And that's the only way you call people out for doing shit like this instead when they knock you down. Like, if they knock you down and go, I'm gonna do delayed air dash and then get my call out, right? Like this. That's weird to time a Slayer. Like immediate, not immediate, it's like delayed JH, like that, right? Calling that out is scary. So I would say, yeah, try that versus him and any other DP characters. Honestly, I didn't see it come up that much, but it's like, it's kind of like the P-Mappa advice where I'm like, just try it. I would say the big thing to me that stood out more than anything else in this matchup was that you need to recognize when Chipps are using this button to call out your sways and use more, probably 6P is fine if I had to guess, but you might not get the counter hit on this. Maybe. If you get the counter hit, I would mash 6P every now and then if they're pressing 5k to call out Dandy Steps. And then obviously 5k is like a way safer option. You can press 5k buff for P-Mappa if you're uncertain. You can obviously press K-Mappa if you're like believing more in the hit. That's fine. The other thing I was going to say, but Pat isn't really prone to do it as much. The other thing I was going to say is keep in mind, because you're going to spend a lot of time chasing Chipp around on the screen. Also, we were... Come on, man. What happened to my relaxing Pokemon music? Oh, I was going to say position-wise. Recognize, because you're going to spend a lot of time chasing Chipp around in this matchup. And the thing is eventually the goal is to get somewhere like here versus Chipp. Where it's like, there's nowhere for him to retreat anymore. You move forward, he can't move back, etc., right? But you have to be cognizant of it because this is the most likely situation with Chipp players H teleport, like on average, right? Because they recognize it's not a good position to be in and they have an option that escapes the corner, right? So a lot of the times, like, I wouldn't say do it all the time, but once you set up this positioning versus Chipp, don't be afraid to just wait. It might sound kind of weird to say that, but a lot of Chipp is kind of like getting good positioning versus him in neutral like this, and then waiting to see if he cracks and does the teleport. Because if he does like K teleport and he does that shit raw and you don't do anything, that's a punish. Like, you just get a punish at this distance. You would just press like 5k sweep is my guess, like that, and you'd get a knockdown, right? Same with like if he H teleports and you're like really believing in the H teleport, you do this. This matchup sucks, man. That shit did 70%. I don't get it, bro. What does Samito see that I don't? What does Samito see that I don't? Oh, there it is. Never mind. That's what he sees. You kind of do that a lot on round start anyway, so that makes sense. Pretty much what I'm saying is you're going to spend a lot of time chasing Chipp, but realize that eventually cornering him is enough. We've been talking a lot about positioning this VOD review stream, which is funny. But the idea is, like, once you have good positioning, he is very likely to do random shit. He could also just do this because it's at the range where, like, if you get hit, he'll get a pickup off of it. If he does like Alpha Blade like this, he gets a pickup, right? So you want to keep in mind, like, this distance is important to chill out because you need to make sure the Chipp player knows that you're willing to wait. Once you show you're willing to wait, they are less likely to do those things, right? But I want to say it happened like maybe once or twice where you had this positioning versus Pat, and he wasn't like jailed or anything. You had just like done an air dash and he did an air dash and you were here. And I think you did like an air dash or a dash forward. Probably an air dash is, I guess, like this. And I think he teleported like right when you did it. Right? Because that's basically the idea, right? If he teleports and you move forward, then yeah, he repositions on you and now you're in the corner, right? But those two things, I think, go a long way. Remembering to RPS with Blitz if you feel uncomfortable is important. Calling out Chipp and just people in general on your sways is important. Recognizing Chipp's escape options includes... I didn't cover Alpha Blade, but Alpha Blade is kind of like the same thing. If you're chasing Chipp a lot, like this, you know, like on the floor, let's say, like he tends to do Alpha Blade once it's at a distance where it'll combo. Like if it gets the air hit, like where the air Alpha Blade gets the hit here, it'll combo on this hit. He recovers, he does his jump install pickup. So it's like, again, you just want to keep these distances in mind. You could be a nut and do shit like this, but you really don't have to, honestly. Just being patient will nail you a punish on its own. Be cool if you could get a combo here on airborne hits still. That shit would be brutal. If you could airborne combo here on Chipp. But yeah, I would say keep those positional things in mind. I want to say those are like, at least as far as that set went, most of that was like the only stuff that stood out to me. I thought everything else was pretty alright. Was there anything else that you were wondering about the set? Otherwise, we could just talk about a tangent or two. I might talk about like Chipp pressure and stuff to keep in mind. Nothing you can think of? Let's talk about a little bit of Chipp pressure, I guess. In case you were like a little like, why not about it, you know? Oh, you already talked with Day about it? Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was about to talk about. I was literally just about to cover the RPS with Rekka. We're still trying to implement it. It's kind of funky because you have to pay a lot of attention to Chipp as he's doing stuff. I would say my surface level advice for a lot of people is something people might not know is that Gamma Blade is not a special cancel. Like, Chipp actually cannot... There's a reason you've never seen a Chipp do this in a block string, like an actual block string. Gamma has to be done for neutral, right? And this is kind of like a no-duh, why does this matter, you know, type of thing. Like, what difference does it make? Like, I get it, he can't do 5H Gamma. The reason I mention it is because Chipp's other special cancels, except for Rekka, right, are, like, not that great. Like, he's not going to do Find Me. Teleport in place has some invul on it, but not, like, a lot, and not something you can really, like, consistently take advantage of. So my reason I mention this is, usually when I give people, like, surface level Chipp advice, it's to learn to recognize buttons like this. Buttons like 2D are buttons I usually will recognize and try to see how close we are. And if it doesn't seem like he's willing to Rekka, because he's going to end up most likely being minus on the Rekkas, and that doesn't feel comfortable. If he's going to do just 2D stagger into another button, or 2D teleport or whatever, this button's only special cancelable, right? So, like, let's say he does something like this in a pressure string. A lot of the times I'll see 2D and I'll just, like, lock in an option like this. And I guess as Slayer, that might not be, like, too bad. I would probably just do Pelter here. Or Pile Bunker preemptively. Or not Pelter, because this is me locking in P-Mappa as soon as I see 2D and I know it's going to get special canceled. This is P-Mappa. Or not P-Mappa, this is K-Mappa. I guess I could do P-Mappa though, and I would get that even faster. And the idea is basically, like, if he does something like this... Oh, I do have the K-Mappa. This is like an opportunity to play the game versus him. Damn, that's not a punish. It's crazy. Good for him. This would have been fucked up if this was a punish. But yeah, I'll do this a lot versus Chipp. I'll just like press buttons in this situation every now and then. H teleport is pretty good at like covering him in this spot. But a lot of the times, because I know he can't do anything super crazy here off the special cancel, sometimes I will just call Chipp out on this button. Usually 2D, but sometimes other ones like 6H. A lot of Chipps are not going to special, or not, they're not going to jump cancel 6H. Some of them will, but a lot of them are going to press this button and then press some kind of teleport after it, like this. Right? Same with 2H. 2H, when I see this button, a lot of the times I gamble like right away. Because the pushback is so great, like, I don't want to say he doesn't get 2D that frequently. A lot of times he'll get it like at this range when he's trying to use it, and like he can't do 2D here, right? So it's like you just send it, right? You make contact. I guess with Slayer I would do like, I'm trying to like set this up. Yeah, I would probably just like Mappa here right now. Nah, Mappa seems good. Mappa or not dash forward, but like air dash forward seems pretty good here. But does that make sense? That would be like my suggestion if you're ever wondering about Chipp offense. A lot of Chipp offense is focusing on this button, close flash, this button, but specifically what he does after this button, and then these buttons, like the big like he's probably gonna teleport buttons, 2H, 6H, 2D, right? Again, a lot of the times, like, he can't really do, like, 2D, nothing, and then Gamma. Like, sometimes he can, right? Like, but if you're fast enough on the call-out, like, you would just smoke Chipp. And then, like I said, I would learn a safe jump timing. My guess is that like this might be it. Like air, like dash back, like back dash, air dash, instant air dash forward might be it. That's pretty good. But yeah, learn. Those are like the big pieces of advice I would say. Focus on those for now. The good thing is like, if you focus on trying to like call out chips, like on the whenever you play them on calling out your dandy step, it'll probably build your awareness to recognize when other people are doing it. Like characters like who else does that? I do it with Biken, but it's kind of cheap because she does it with Kabari. But you can still do the same thing. You can air dash over Kabari as it happens, and you'll get a punish. Obviously Kai kind of just does it in place with his buttons, etc., etc. But it kills me because in my head it always feels like it feels like such a simple adaptation when I see Slayer players and I'm like, dude, just press a button in place. Like he's already chasing Dandy Step. Just press a button in place. He's gonna run into it. Then I'm like, at what point was this not discovered by the Slayer player themselves? Anything? I think we only have one more, right? I think it's just Citriux. We did bdonp, we did Gummy, we did MKJ, and we did Learn. Yeah, here's Citriux. Here's you. Did you have, since you didn't submit it like via the forum, and I just told you to like send me the Twitch VOD, do you have anything you want me to try to like focus on when watching this set, or like just general advice? Was there anything that stood out to you that you were like struggling with? You struggle a lot with airborne Millia. Okay, that's one of those ones where you say that and I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to. But also, oh shit, I got an Emiru gift sub. I didn't even know somebody I was watching hosted her probably. I don't really watch her that much. That's funny. Alright. Honest thinkers are filthy mashers. Proof the Slayer players are honest thinkers and not filthy. No. If you see anything, yeah, I'll let you know. We'll watch a couple of these. I'm assuming this is a set, right? In which case, we will progress towards the later end of the set. Yeah, we'll watch like 10 minutes in. We'll watch from like this game. I always rule of thumb, I never watch since the beginning. I think it's good to see people like once they've kind of settled, whether it's either they're tilted or or whether they are adapting, one or the other. So knockdown. Wow, that one. That was a really late 2H, but still. That just looked wrong. Calls under, yeah. She's another one where it's kind of like Stroke, where you kind of have to like, in situations like this, you have to be more willing to cancel like the 5H into 2S in those spots and you'll hit them. It's just kind of tough because 2S is a harder hit confirm on average. Like just like regular 2S with no other like Gatlings after. Hit. There are things to keep in mind, by the way. I like don't talk about them, but there are things to keep in mind. Like Millia is not like a just do this to block character, but there are things I recommend people like try, right? So like when I see knockdowns like this, usually Bad Moon has a little bit of travel time on it here. Like on this Okazeme, where she is like kind of spaced out in front of you, like as the disc is hitting, you can kind of block low into high. Like you can fuzzy block it, and if the Millia player isn't clean, sometimes you'll block low that they pick immediately and still block Bad Moon. Like you shouldn't really get to do that, but it's one of those where it's like if you're gonna try something, you might as well try stuff like that versus Millia in mix-up situations. Like block low right into high, like as a sequence to help out. Yeah, these situations are tough. A lot of the times, what I advise people to try to do, which is like with like airborne Millia stuff, and we'll talk about it in training mode a little, is to pay attention to her resources and like the positioning. So right now she spent 1 air dash. I would probably still 6p here. Even though air dash back pin toss would punish it. Like, it would punish it. Air dash back into S pin toss will counter hit it and she'll get a knockdown. But it's one of those where I would be low health and I would just send it. But keeping her resources in mind is like kind of important. I also think the situations Millias get kind of comfortable in where you can't anti-air them because they're hitting with like the back of jump heavy or something are a lot of situations where it's important to remember blitz is a mechanic in the game and doesn't care about what side it's hit on. I will say don't do this. Don't do this. I don't think it's smart to try to air throw Millia. She's at a really high altitude and she has very many ways where she can change her trajectory. It's kind of dangerous to get away with it. That's a good trade. Catches the backdash, but no punish. Nice faultless defense. It's good to faultless Millia out. You don't want her to get like easy tick throws all the time. So this is the situation I'm talking about. Like when she gets Oki kind of like this, where it's like sudden knockdown, disc, and she's like kind of right on top of you. A lot of times I'll do like low into high kind of immediately. Again, the idea being like this one actually did look like it hit meaty, but sometimes the bad moon, especially distance wise, like if she was a little further back, doesn't actually hit exactly right. Oh, you're cooked. I have no advice for this. This is a bad situation. My advice is use your burst better, and I don't mean that jokingly. Like burst is like your one mechanic to get saved here. It's basically like realistically eat the mix up. You have a lot of health, so you have to wait for her to start doing her combo and then use your burst on the next combo. That is unironically like the best way to just deal with that situation. Because even if you burst her, Garden doesn't go away. I say this is kind of far. Yeah. Well, also, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but this kind of falls into the thing I was talking about, by the way. That I said, like, oh, we should talk about this, where it's like, situations like this, where it's like, this into this is like, that's a check, but you have to recognize the distance you're at and be like, I have to throw a coin here. If I want to catch her doing anything like that, I kind of have to throw a coin. Right? Recognizing when people, because people learn to like RPS with Johnny 2S a lot. Because they're like, oh, it doesn't really lead to much. So like learning to YRC after it or coin after it is kind of important. Faultless fence. Oh, that was a cheeky side switch. Doom, doom. Millia is really easy to knock down for Johnny. Usually she's a one-hitter. Good blitz. All right. Again, it's tricky, but this is kind of like the downside to this, right? Like, you get a good mix-up, but in some ways, this is why I had advocated like the strike throw, because you can do backdash and then dash up and then just do strike throw anyway, right? But that is the trade-off, right? If somebody's willing to call you out, then they can force you in on an RPS situation in response. So YYRC is still good. Here I would do it, because it's just a risk-reward thing. Like, I wouldn't have even baited it. I would have ran the mix-up, because it's like, if I'm wrong here, like, I still have a crazy lead. JD into knockdown. I would walk a little bit, yeah. No need to rush. You have a health lead. Wake up YRC is different. You can just block and get a punish. Oh, if you ever need a burst safe starter, I guess just like side piece of advice. Do a 2k close slash 2k and just like hold down back while you're doing it here. It's like a very burst safe string. A very burst safe string. Well, it's like 2 more of these. Yeah, we'll show it. I'll show it because it's just like an easy thing. But it's like you're not really in that kind of situation too frequently, or it's like, ooh, that you can get that. Like, it's just, it exists. It's pretty easy to do. It's just that the situation doesn't come up all that much where you're point blank like that. Nice coin. I'm actually surprised. What did that catch? Air dash JH. Oh, I see. Yeah, that was greedy on their part. They shouldn't have done that. Little too low for the mix. Yeah, Digitalis. This one's tough because it's like, if you had blocked the Digitalis, that would have been a punish. So that's like, I respect mashing there. I probably would mash too. That's kind of high up. Damn, Millia's so easy to combo. Yeah, it's an awkward hit. I like backdashing though. I like this response. I'm gonna talk about this more. We'll watch one more and I'll talk about a lot of like recognizing air positioning and talking about like what options they have. But recognizing like at this point, I would also backdash because it's the fastest way to like get away from her. You want to like move the opposite direction of her there, so that her only way to reach you is using her resources, like her air resources, in a way that would expend them all. And if you call it out, like she's just toast. Coin. That's gonna hurt. Oh no. A little too late on the JK. But this is a pretty chill knockdown. Like here I would run strike throw. Well, I guess not like that, but that works too. Here you can unblockable. Yeah, like this shit's too crazy. Don't do this. Millia wins if you overextend, I think. In my opinion, it depends on the matchup, I guess, but overextending with stuff like this is really bold. Like, for a character that basically only needs to knock you down a handful of times to win a game. Throw. No, she tries to call it out. Yeah, you get jailed. There. You have to keep holding FD. I would actually not dash up here. Personally. I would hold positioning. I think positioning is important to hold in this matchup because you don't really have the movement to end up like... You don't have a run to reposition, so it's kind of hard to reposition forward a lot of times. Like I would imagine Johnny repositions backwards in this matchup. Tries to do it all over again. Yeah. Yeah, that was my thought. Was if you had just coined in place, it would have worked. Holding positioning is weird because it's one of those where like you don't increase your lead, so it is a huge test of patience for a lot of people to like over and over RPS in neutral by like resetting and going like, well, when do I get the hit? Air dash? Not run up 6k. Yeah, Millia is an easy character to push forward versus because you want to accelerate your win condition versus a squishy character, but it's very dangerous. Oh, that's gonna hurt potentially. See, like all this, like you gotta chill. You gotta really chill, especially because the pushback on Mistfinder is pretty good on a lot of the strings here. That like the distance it pushes you towards here, like I would backdash off that block Mistfinder, and the positioning is actually pretty good. Yeah, that close slash being close slash was interesting, but I think it had a lot to do with the counter hit on the 5H reducing like the time they were in, or like extending the amount of time they were in like hit lag before they got pushed back is my guess. Something like that. Basically the counter hit was the reason it did that. Yeah. Again, a lot of that is just like you just have to check with 2S. The thing about 2S, and I was like, it was like basically the thing I typed yesterday, more or less, is that situations like that are very much about you want to check options like roll or stroke the big tree or I don't know, stun dipper, but with 2S, because you recognize that they're really strong options, but it's important to be ready for when people actually just blocked instead. Because like I mentioned, 2S is Johnny's like biggest vulnerability in his pressure in terms of the frame advantage he usually has. It's not that plus compared to the other heavies that you would have. Right? So it's like stuff like this. And I'll talk about this before we talk about the neutral because I'd rather talk about the neutral mostly, but stuff like this, right? Like if I do this, right? And they recognize like here, right? Like that is a situation where it's like, oh yeah, I just do it and I get out because I know the miscancel. You have to learn to do stuff like this. And me, usually I want to say like when I play Johnny, I do 2S and I'll kind of already be ready. to assume they didn't get hit. So like, let's see. Oh, this is gonna be kind of a pain in the butt to show, but hopefully I get it. I want them to randomly block after. Yeah. Right, so like this situation is important to recognize. Because I think a lot of the times, like, I would probably already buffer the miscancel on that. But like with the intention of hit confirm, like this, you know, like I'm already loading the option so that I can just rip it if I see like counter and I'm like, okay, I got him, you know? The tricky part again is in a perfect world, you would just react to it actually hitting people. But there's also nothing wrong with like, if you can't do it, you could just toss a coin like that. And the coin will like just give you more offense anyway. But the reason 2S is important to one, use, but also be ready for when it's blocked is because it's so interactive that like, you need to be ready to do something like this. And honestly, you can just do it preemptively. It's not really that big a deal. Not everything has to be a combo as long as you maintain advantage, really. That it's like, if I was to do a string like this, I would just start... Oh, wait, I don't have my RC binded. I would just send it on the next thing. Because I'm already checking what I want to check anyway. I might as well just do, like that. Right? Because, again, most of the time, you don't want to get caught in this situation. Because it's really hard to get anybody to sit still here as Johnny. Right? You have to press, like, this button or dash forward draw or whatever. So you kind of have to assume that you're throwing a coin or ZYRCing after this option. Like, kind of right away like that. So that, honestly, even if it hit, like... It wouldn't have really, like, made a difference is the way I would put it. Like, if I was here and I was like, I'm gonna roll, and then, like, ZYRC happens, a lot of the time, like, people are still in a bad spot. Like, yeah, you could have comboed, but honestly doing that's fine. Same with, like... Right? Like, this doesn't combo, but now you're, like, in the same spot. You can even, like, tick throw off of it, etc. But I think a lot of times the idea is, like, yeah, ideally you would want to hit confirm this. Yeah. But you need to try to, like, disincentivize people from using the option they really think is, like, their one way out every now and then. Right? Or make it really hurt when they're wrong. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to pick that option as much anymore, you know? But it's really easy if you autopilot pressure like this to find a roll. And really, like, the only good way to stop it is a 2S like that. Like, it's not your game plan, but it's just important to establish. And then eventually, people will go back to blocking stuff like this. Right. But yes, learning to play off that is important. Even if you have to do it preemptively. Even if you're not comfortable hit confirming. Even just checking roll into, like... I know I'm going to get ZYYRC anyway, so I'm just going to press 2S and ZYYRC. I don't care what you do, but I don't want you to get to roll here as Millia, is basically the takeaway. Same with coin. Like, I just don't want you to get to roll, so I'm going to do 2S and then do coin so that I keep my turn. And then I'll do it all over again. Right. Pressure. I was going to say pressure, not pressure, neutral. She's tough because there are a million. Millia air neutral is, she's got a lot of options, bro. Like, anytime she does stuff like this, she can do this and then still get the pickup on counter hit, which is kind of why it's hard to, like, play situations the way you normally would versus her, because she can do things like bait the anti-air, like, blatantly, like this, and then toss a pin, and then still run up a lot of the times and get, you have to do it from, like, a little bit higher. You have to do it from, like, here. And you'll oftentimes still get the knockdown as Millia. Oh, damn, you gotta do that really fast. Yeah, like that, too. That's kind of why it's tricky, because, like, her going into you like this is not always the same as other characters. Right? Normally, I would say, like, yeah, like, you can position yourself versus a lot of characters so that when they move forward, no matter what the distance they end up at, like, they just end up in an anti-air range, right? That's kind of like how Johnny normally plays the neutral, is to try to keep people at a distance where if you go like this, the reaction is really easy. You would just press 6P and you would hit them, right? Or you would backdash and just get out, right? And when you see them air dashing. But a character like Millia can opt for stuff like that. And it can be really tricky to play around for anybody, not just Johnny, right? I think a lot of it, to me, is understanding when Millia seems like they're probably going to use pin finally, or when they're going to actually just use their own JH. And sometimes I'll commit on it, like, and just like call it out, but a lot of the times I'm kind of hoping that they'll use pin, if that makes sense. Like on situations like this, for example, like let's say they air dash in off a super jump like this, right? Let's say they air dash in, they do this. That's too far. Right, let's say they do this, right? The reason is like you can anti-air that, but if you anti-air that, that's exactly like why you don't want to anti-air that on reaction, right? Because that situation can happen, right? So sometimes I'll just like see them do this and I'll just like block the pin, right? If they do that, right? Again, a lot of Millias like I don't see them use pin that well like that. A lot of them will use it more like on the approach like this. And if they're doing it like that, then yeah, you can just like 6p them if you hold the right distance like this as Johnny. And you can even like link 5H, I think, on counter here. Right. My big thing is, it's frustrating because she resets to neutral so much unless you just kill her, right? Like this is another case of like, this is one of those matchups where because she's low health, she gets to do a lot of things that you don't want her to do, and you kind of have to kill her, right? That's like an obnoxious thing to deal with, because in some cases people would rather somebody have a lot of health but just less options for you to deal with, right? Like Potemkin, for example. But you do kind of have to have like a certain degree of patience. I do think Johnny backdash is pretty good versus Millia. Anytime you're in this sort of range, I would probably recommend being more defensive than aggressive on average versus Millia, because the way I look at it, and this isn't like always true, but Millia doesn't really have enough full screen presence, in my opinion, to like really scare you for giving up space, right? Like she's got this, I guess, but like she's not really gonna like this is not gonna, one, this takes forever, right? And like two, the chances of them doing it are like not very likely. But the reason I say just chill is not because I'm like, oh, don't worry, you know, eventually it's gonna work out in your favor. It's because all you kind of need, in my opinion, as Johnny, is to wait around until you built 25 bar, like walking around or pressing buttons or doing misfiners or resetting. Once you have 25 bar, you can just opt to like do this. And even versus Millia, it's still pretty good to just do this in neutral. I'm not saying to wait around necessarily to wait for an opening. Obviously, if you get a 6p or an anti-air or something, that's cool. But honestly, stalling in neutral a lot of the times for Johnny is just an easy way to kill time until you don't have to play neutral anymore. That it's like, it's not honestly that bad of a game plan versus some characters. If you were fighting Bedman or Dizzy or Venom or maybe Elphelt, like there are some downsides to playing that slow because the full screen options they have are really scary. But Millia's full screen options are not. I would say there are a couple things to keep in mind, right? When Millia's kind of do this approach at me, I tend to back up like that. Like, as a character like Johnny, when you see them take to the air and start to move forward, I would say you should move back on average like this, right? So that you kind of like eventually convince them to overextend. Your goal is always to retreat until they overextend and not vice versa. As Johnny, if the matchup lets you do that, like if it lets you get away with that, let's say like as long as you have the health lead or something, that is usually a pretty good way to play as Johnny in neutral. Even versus Millia, like even versus Millia, I would probably see an approach like this and still do backdash far slash wherever she normally lands, right? Because there aren't like too many things off of this trajectory that are that scary, that are not, that like won't just like still probably lose to far slash. Like you could probably throw pin like this and catch far slash, but then again we're like back to square one where it's like I don't mind her using pin. Pin is one of those things where she I wouldn't say like needs the tool, I guess, but it's more like yes, pin does that. Like the whole point is, if you were to say like chill at this distance and you're like, oh, I'm gonna backdash and press far slash where she lands and she throws pin, that's your punishment. Like this is the neutral RPS to me versus Millia a lot of the times for really grounded characters. And the reward in quotations is like sometimes you just block pin on that, right? And like blocking pin from over here is not that big a deal because one, if you get hit, period, like she just can't get a knockdown unless you're crouching, right? Like she just can't unless she gets like a specific combo into like the new like 2.1 bad moon routes that exist, which she probably won't get from there. A lot of the times she just can't get a combo. Blocking it closer up is a little bit scary, but like let's say you're over here, that's not a big deal. And she can't pick this pin up unless she rolls into it. So a lot of the times once she starts her pressure, if she threw pin to start it, I'm just like looking for pin for her to roll to grab pin, right? I'm waiting. Like, are you going to roll and commit to Digitalis? Because Far Slash is a punish if you block Digitalis. Right? Like, Digitalis has to be really, really spaced out, I want to say, for it to not be a punish. Right? That is still punish? Seriously? Jeez. No, it's not. No, it might be. Oh my god. No, it's not blocking. Okay. Yeah. It's got to be spaced out Digitalis, which is... No, it's not a punish. It had to be close up like this. And then it's a punish. Digitalis is pretty minus though. Actually, I think this is a punish sometimes, isn't it? Maybe not. That's not. Alright, not super important, but you get my point. My point is like, a lot of handling Millia neutral to me is like still playing kind of defensive the way you would versus a lot of people's air approaches. And if she uses pin, stop pressing as much after you retreat so that she has to use the pin. If she makes contact, she's got to spend bar to get good pressure, or she's got to overextend with the roll at some point, right? Whether it's, and none of the roll follow up, like you can't do roll into button. That's not real. Not real in the sense that like you can press a button and you'll get it. Like if you press like a fuzzy button, like, oh, you rolled, but I'm pressing a button late. That I would say focus on that. There are a lot of situations like this with Millia where like it can get kind of frustrating because it's like you can't really like air throw it, you can't do anything. I just blitz these situations personally. Like if I don't feel like I can crouch under it and get away with it, right? Because she's got this like reverse hitbox on it like that. So let's say she's like here and like I can't do anything. I can't stand up into it. I can't anti-air. I can't fucking like 2P it. Like this, the situation's really obnoxious, right? That it's like unless you like jump and then like maybe instant block it at like the right positioning, you get something. But a lot of the times you just block that shit and have to deal with it. I mean, there's stuff you could do. Like you get 6H here and you'll get out. But I'm saying like whenever she's kind of smothering you in neutral or during pressure, when it feels like she's using this, I try to focus on her jumping, like leaving the floor just in general. And if she did, it was probably an air dash like this. So I'll just blitz, right? Because on paper, Millia rolling feels way less stressful than Millia air dashing onto you during pressure, during block strings, etc. Like, I would rather her think that she can't always do this option. And then she'll try other stuff. There are Millias that will do, like, land into throw, I guess. Sometimes. Damn, that doesn't reach. Alright, and it's like, so try to bait this, and it's like, at that point, I would just, like, wait and throw on the ground myself, you know? Like, there's a lot of different, like, situations for this. But again, it's hard to give you one exact answer because the neutral is so good for her. There's only a couple things I'll keep in mind, and honestly, they don't really come up for Johnny as much because he doesn't have, like, he doesn't press the same kind of buttons other people do. Normally, you don't really want to try to press too many crouching normals versus Millia in neutral. Usually, you want to press standing stuff. The reason being, if this hits on a crouching button like that, Digitalis now combos off of 5H. This is one of the buffs they gave her, I believe, in 2.1. It might not have been 2.1. I don't remember. But I know she used to not have that, right? But Digitalis combos, right? But it won't if you got hit on this, right? So pressing like a crouching normal is usually pretty nice versus her, or sorry, standing normal. But Johnny normally presses a standing normal anyway in neutral, so it's not a big deal. Usually you're pressing standing stuff anyway, so that's like an important thing to remember not to do too much. Like, don't press too many crouching normals in neutral. The other thing is, like I said, just reposition a little bit more defensively. Try to keep in mind if Millia has spent a lot of air resources, and try to keep in mind when it seems like they are finally just gonna land on you with like six jump H like this, and just 6p or blitz. You have to anti-air like pretty early to hit Millia, I've noticed. So sometimes I will also just opt to blitz. I use blitz a lot versus characters that have like air movement that is hard to consistently anti-air or like position for like that, right? But honestly, I don't personally recommend like trying to do shit like this versus Millia. Like just because you know the trajectory she's going at, missing this input feels really bad. That like I wouldn't really advise it. But it's personal preference. You have to be really comfortable doing these like air throws to like really like know how to position for them like behind them like that. Plus, like, she's got a good button for stopping it. Like, if you do this and you're a little slow, like this, you'll just block JH anyway. So it doesn't really, like, help you much. I find most success against the character, like, Millia, again, comes from being more spaced out. And honestly, I think she's a good character to teach you to, like, just assume people will jump out or assume they'll roll and, like, if they didn't get caught here, I would toss this and then set up the situation. And you only need to do it enough times, like on 2S, that they wait around for. This is a little like the thing I said when I was talking to Learn earlier, where it's like, there's kind of like various levels of how hard you want to commit. Because spending a resource isn't exactly good either, but it's a good way to keep going, right? Obviously, that's the trade-off. It costs a resource, but you get to keep going, right? But you could also just be okay with not continuing your offense. Buffer the hit confirm. If you don't get the hit, then you just give up. You have to play neutral again, right? Eventually, like, don't worry, it takes a long time, but eventually Exert does become a game about understanding that it's okay to go back to neutral, and you don't have to keep pressing the offensive. The defensive system mechanics in the game are rewarding enough that usually going too ham for too long really puts you at a disadvantage in the resource war. Usually, like, in terms of meter. That it can sometimes not work out. Yeah, those are like the big things I would say. Like use some more blitz to stop her approaches. If she's using pin, it's okay to just block the pin and then push her out and pay attention to her trying to get the pin back. Don't run at Millia too much. I don't think there are many situations really as Johnny where you're probably gonna get to run up and press far slash and it's gonna actually hit Millia. That's like very rare that would happen. That you might as well hold a distance like this and kind of assume that she's going to run at you more often than not until she finally doesn't, and then you can kind of start to approach again. But again, just kind of assume most Millias don't give a fuck about being on the floor to begin with, so don't spend your time worrying about chasing her down. It's not worth it. Just hold a positioning kind of like this distance, and as she kind of like moves forward, we'll say like this, keep an eye on it and try to move back so that this distance stays kind of like constant as much as you can. Because once you get to around here versus Millia, the reason it's scary if she gets to this distance is that this is annoying. You don't want her to be able to like close a distance where, let's say you get to like here versus Millia and she does this. This can get annoying now because you're going to press that button and it's like, great, now she's on hit. Now it's like she's plus on hit, etc. Like, you don't want to end up here too much as her, and the good way to stop that is to still stay at this distance. So that is why it's important to kind of hold this and keep an eye on her when she moves forward and do like a backdash or two, and then hold that distance. And then once she finally is like, all right, he's just backdashing, I'm gonna call it out, then you rotate more to being patient or pressing things in place to catch her chasing your backdashes. Again, this is like under the assumption that she is chasing you, and a lot of the times I think Millias usually do. It's very rare that a Millia just like keeps waiting forever. An ad? Ah, yes. My secret game plan. Oh, I didn't show the thing. I didn't talk about it. This is what happens when I don't write stuff down in Notepad. Let me see. Does this work? It does. That's funny. But yeah, that's like the very gist of it to keep in mind. The other thing I was gonna say is this string is burst safe. If you're ever point blank for a punish, again, it's just kind of rare because it's like you'd have to have like a whiff DP or something. But 2k, close slash 2k for those initial hits. So like the first hit, burst safe. Let me see. First hit, burst safe. Second hit, burst safe. The third hit is no longer burst safe, I want to say, because the far slash usually like gets caught. But the idea is like you're usually only checking the very initial part of the string. And if you're actually a little further, like over here, I want to say there's like a distance where you might actually not be able to do it on Millia. She has a really tiny standing hurt box. Wonder if you can do... No, because, yeah. Only the initial part of this string is burst safe. But it's cute. It's a cool little burst safe starter. You just do this as the route. Alright, you do S finer. I think this picks up. I just need to delay it. Yeah. Yeah, it picks up. It picks up. Yeah, this string's solid. You can also just do like... Actually, you might just... Yeah, you can still get full slash off that. But yeah, that's like pretty much it. Those are like the things I would focus on, in my opinion. Again, it's kind of tough. Like Millia is hard to fight in neutral. But I would be patient, man. You don't want to overextend into Millia too much. Dude, that's crazy. And then we'll probably just talk about it when I go up for calibers, but yeah. Well, the idea is like it's not just chill the fuck out. It's more just like you have to understand that this distance is important because you need it to slow her down, and when she slows down, then you get to actually do stuff. But if they don't actually slow down because they don't give a fuck about what you're doing, then like you have to slow them down. You have to make people respect you. And the key to doing that is to stop running into things a lot of the times. It's a very like level 1 way to do it. But yeah, we'll talk about it. Again, a lot of it is like, I think you should probably just get a little comfier with specifically 2S in your pressure. You're already pretty comfortable using a lot of the other stuff, but using 2S will help you a lot versus people that are used to mashing 6P or low profile options versus your pressure that goes into like far slash after miscanceling. Just enough that it earns respect. It's not that it's your game plan, it's just that button earns respect so that people don't disrespect far slash all the time with low profiles and 6Ps. And then learning to play off of 2S when it's blocked is important. And honestly, those two things would probably like those things would probably help like quite a bit. But all right, that is it. That was our last VOD review. I don't think anybody else is streaming Exurd. I might come back later maybe, but that's like a big maybe. I'm probably gonna chill. These are usually like a little lengthy, so I might like eat some food because I haven't eaten today. I woke up kind of late, so I haven't had like any lunch. But I might come back and stream some Exurd or something else later. But I'm gonna cut the VOD so I can upload it later. Anybody that's lurking, obviously I do these bi-weekly unless something came up. Like unless I'm busy, then I don't do them. But I always do them bi-weekly. They're posted on my bluesky. I don't actually use Twitter. I should really update my my stream graphic, but they're always posted on. The forums are posted usually on Monday, every other week. On my bluesky, they're open for like a day or two. The forum explains how it works. They're also I ping about it in the NorCal AFGC. I'll probably do it in the matchmaking Discord too. It's just like it seems like a different vibe. I don't really plug anything in matchmaking. That's not what it's for. It's just for matchmaking and game advice. So that's like why I've never done it. But yes, next one should be in 2 weeks. I think. Let me double check. Because next weekend is 17th, and the weekend after that would be... Yeah, it should be fine. Because I don't think I have any plans on the 24th or 23rd. It'll probably be the 23rd. But yeah, it'll be in 2 weeks. I don't charge people. It's weird to charge people for video game advice if there's not like any benefit. If you guys won Street Fighter $1 million off of it, maybe I would charge you guys, but not for Exurd. But yeah, that's it for me. Didn't look like anybody was really streaming Exord, I think, besides me. Yeah, I don't see anybody, so that's probably it for me. I'll catch you guys later. Good old fashioned VOD review. I am behind on. I didn't upload the last one, but this is also getting uploaded to the YouTube, the Bike and Player YouTube. So, if anybody wants to go back, I usually